And then I pack with my tongue, like eating air.
Perfect. Welcome to Denmark, basically, because you don't live here anymore.
Welcome home.
I can say that. Tell us shortly about yourself. Who are you?
I'm a very curious person, born in 1973, so I'm half a century, kind of like a dinosaur or turtle. 50 years, that is. Just celebrated my 50th. I didn't get to tell you, but I've spent all this year celebrating my 50th. People can find the info on stig50.com, STIG50.com. I put out the invite so everybody can join. Yeah, my team made a website. I helped with the design, and then we made my 50th birthday. It's going to be in 7 locations, like 7 destinies, or 7
chakras,
so 7 chakras, so everything. This magical number. So I've held 6 so far. And I'll have the 7th here in Denmark, and then we might do an extra, like a bonus. But so that's what I've been doing all year, and that is frankly to see all people in my life that have been important and that have contributed and that I've loved and met during all good times and bad times. So I thought it was better I came to them, since I am kind of a citizen of the world. I live in 5 places now in the world: Malaysia, Dubai, Spain, Mexico, and sometimes Denmark, and a little bit Norway. So I thought it was better to come to them. So I'm a curious person that loved to teach about breathwork. This is my passion since childhood, because I had severe asthma. So I think for that reason, I understood very early, from about the age of 4 or 5, that if you can breathe properly, it really makes your life much better and much easier. It gives you more energy, the ability to focus, and so forth. But I come from a background of competition swimming, so elite swimming. I was at the elite team, or the talent team it was called, at the age of 5. I was selected for that in Aalborg Swim Club, which is one of the prominent Denmark. We also had an Olympian, Benny Nielsen, at that time, so great inspiration from an Olympian, a medalist. Then I became friends with him later and so forth. Great guy. But I always loved water. I loved animals, so I became a biologist. That's the only thing I wanted in my life. So I've never had doubt, should I be a doctor, a lawyer? I thought about those things because, things have to be just. You have to be honest and nice. And I see so much inequality and injustice in the world, and that really gets to me, both in the human life, but also in business, right? I really can't stand it. And then also, but I always loved animals. I caught them, I observed them, I drew them, I dissected them. At some point, I thought, maybe I should also work like more with animals, like an animal keeper. But then my dad was, but that's probably not the best business, or you don't make so much money, and because he's a businessman. So he was kind of right. But long story short, I became a biologist. I have a master's degree in biology, specialized in neurophysiology, zoophysiology, and marine biology. So I was teaching a few years also at the university. That led me into my PhD in medicine, in human inner ear balance organs. So very distinct from the other stuff I'm doing now. But nonetheless, the PhD allowed me, because I got a full scholarship from Oticon Hearing Aids, a big company in Denmark, and it's very rare you get a full scholarship. It just means that you don't have to spend time searching for more funds. So I could focus on the other biggest passion of my life, which was freediving. So I made an agreement with the professors. Freediving is number 1. The PhD is number 2. My girlfriend number 3. Family girlfriend number 4. No, really. And I told my girlfriend, it's good to be straight with your origins and be honest about it.
Yeah.
So those years were all about world records, breaking world records. And then I had the side hustle, which was my PhD studies. Because when you do research, you can pretty much plan your own time. Then again, when I finished that, I was like, some people had asked me, I'd done more television at that time about healthy lifestyle and breathing and focused mind and visualization and stuff like that from freediving. I was a 4-time freediving world champion at that time already. So when I stopped my PhD and finished in 2007, I started writing a book. And in Danish, it was called Take a Breath, or Træk vejret. In English, it became Breathology. And
this one?
Yes, and it became quickly a bestseller here. That was great, and it was a little bit before its time, but now everybody's talking about breathing. So it really had a global reach, and I moved to America after I wrote the book. It took 1 year to write, 1 year to edit. It was published, as you showed there, the book in træk vejret, which is not really a word anybody understands, or these strange letters we have in Denmark with slashes and dots. But it was on Gyldendal, Golden Valley, the biggest publishing house in Denmark. So I got great support, great media exposure, TV time and so forth on all the banners, Metro, everywhere in Copenhagen. So that was a great start for my first book. And but then they wouldn't pursue the more international publishing adventure. So I was fortunate, long story short, I was very fortunate to get the rights back. And they've never done that before. They gave me the rights for the book. And I knew immediately when I had that, I should keep all the e-rights and all book rights for the future. So I now have it in 11 languages in the world. And I always keep all the e-rights, meaning all the digital rights. So if a company, for example, in Dubai, they published it, Italy and so forth, they get the right to publish the book, the paper book, but not the digital rights, because then I can use it on blogs, on podcasts, on whatever. I can take snippets, I can send free examples or free samples of the book and make it into different blog posts and all this that you couldn't if it was copyrighted.
When did you write the book? It was pretty early on, right?
It was. I finished my PhD in June. I won the two last world records and won 2 world records and 2 last gold medals out of my 4 in 2007 in June, July. And then in August, I started writing up in Sweden at a diving competition. I remember it clearly. I jotted down notes on a paper. It's that far away. It was not an iPad or your MacBook. It was just some notes on paper, which is really nice. I'm a bit old school, right? This tangible stuff. Sure. I jotted down ideas. What could the name be? And again, long story short, it was published and it was a wonderful book. Thanks to mainly the publisher and their editor, who was an angel. And it was 1,200 pages originally, because I'm a bit maniac, crazy.
And they don't want that.
But of course, you have to make it less than 300. That's a standard good book, 298 pages, I believe it is. So it really was boiled down. My girlfriend at that time that I've dedicated my book to also helped. She was brilliant in that, Trine. And then I also dedicated the book to my best friend who died very young, Damien. So because we have all this breath in our lives, it's the measurement of how we live, how well we live, how long we live. But he didn't have that fortune, so he left very early. So I also dedicated to Damien, who couldn't breathe anymore. And then in 2009, I moved to America. 2009, I moved to California. And then since this publishing company didn't want to pursue a more international publishing career with the book, they were quite happy about the Danish market. It was a bestseller quite quickly, meaning over 10,000 books sold. That's the kind of limit there for calling it a bestseller, I think. And then they were kind enough to give me the rights. And that started, so let's talk about luck and hardship and failures, right? First of all, the book should have been published with another company. I don't want to go into the details, doesn't matter. But it failed miserably. And it was about to be published. I had the blue copy, it's called, the real copy from the printer. And it's like I was out of it, almost crying. I had the photographer who had become a dear friend of mine who made all these beautiful photos. Kasper Thypia, one of the best photographers in the world. He almost was like, we're going to have a lawsuit or get some lawyers. This is outrageous. But then through network and good friends and good karma, I think we can say, it became a much better book for me, for the audience, for the future, for the world. And I obtained all the rights because it happened this way. And that they, for the first time, ever gave the rights back to me.
That's very lucky, yeah.
And then I changed it to, I brought this as a gift for Mass today. So I don't know, I see a camera there, maybe there's one here, but I changed the name, Take a Breath, to Breatheology or Breathology. Because it's like the science of breathing. I'm a biologist, so biology means the life science. So bios is life. So the knowledge or learning of life, like geology is learning about the planet, physiology, So the learning, logos means learning or the knowledge of. So breatheology is the science, the knowledge, the experience, the using of breath. So this is the same book as the Danish one, of course, a small edits, but basically the same 98% of the way. I added the ice diving record when I beat the Wim Hof record in 2010. So I added that, just a little few extra things, but and then I beat it again in 13. But it's the same book, and that became an online platform because when I'm quite old now. People have to understand I'm 50 years old. I don't feel that old, but I can run from the fact I was born 8th of March, 1973. Of course, I'm Pisces. I'm a fish.
Of course you are. Yeah.
Of course. So at that time, what I saw, I think I've always had a good eye to see trends and what is coming. That is like one of my superpowers. 4, 6, 8 years ahead, I can see a trend. Or what I feel must come, like I'm sure you guys do, with your health work, with your podcast, with educating people, but also being front runners and brave and have the balls or tits or whatever you say in this day and age, have the belief in yourself that this is the right way. So it actually became a platform because I saw when I flew to London, going to America, you always land usually in London or Frankfurt, more and more people with Kindles and this little iPad, if they had that at that time, but tablets, and more the iPhone. Then when I landed in America, and when I entered the plane in London, nobody would look up at you. They would be on their device.
We are back in 2009, something like that.
Yeah. October 9. And then in US, it was even more. So I was like, of course, everybody's going digital. This is like in my face. And of course, it always comes the trends, the influence, the inspiration, whatever, from America, much of it, good and bad, right? Fast food, bad. Yeah. Healthy lifestyle, juicing, fasting from America as well, good. I know it comes from India, from yoga, from men. We get the trends there. Same with fashion, right? A lot of things from New York and stuff. So I saw it clearly and I was like, I have to build an online platform. I have to, probably like Mass has done, I don't know your background that well, but I have to get a new PhD. I have to educate myself in life and learn how to do online sales, online psychology, ads for Facebook. Instagram was not a thing at that time, but how do you reach your audience and how do you do public speaking properly? How do you move on stage? I took so many courses in self-development, in how to speak and get on stage. Brendan Bashard, Tony Robbins, all this stuff I could find in America. So that led me to building the platform that is my livelihood today. It is called Breathology, or breathology.com, and I have a great staff there, a great team, very dedicated. So I'm retired since last year because I thought I'm 50. I've done enough. I have all these degrees and laurels and list of 50 different things I've done, Danish champion, swimming, judo, underwater rugby, all these laurels, and then my educational background. And I thought it's better that I write this book and use the knowledge from the book to make an online platform that can help people. So that became I don't want to sound like a saint or like you're also doing good work for other people, right? With your educational podcast. But I really thought it was more meaningful to do that. And then now, fast forward to publishing the book, getting the platform, Breathology, getting on front page of CNN, 60 Minutes, all these Discovery Channel, got my own program called The Man Who Doesn't Breathe. I was crowned the ultimate superhuman in 2012 when I beat the world record again. I was the first to hold my breath over 20 minutes. In 2010, I did it 20 minutes, April 1st to make it fun in a shark tank in Kattegat Center in Denmark. So it was like unbelievable. And the fun part was that I tricked the press. They didn't believe it. I was many times at this Good Morning Denmark, Good Evening Denmark, these TV shows. But that day they didn't call me. Not until the 2nd of April when they saw the front pages of the South African newspapers and stuff, it got picked up by Reuters. Photo of the day, a guy called Morten Bjørn. And by luck and chance, it got picked up and it was in all the newspapers in the world. So it was true. I held my breath 20 minutes, 10 seconds in 2010. So after that, I started doing more Guinness World Records, such as how you have many layers in an onion. So I tried to make it more like a piece of art. Not just swimming some random 186.2 meters, but really dedicated to the year or to something. So I broke that again in 2011 on the Stanley Superhumans. I made 21 minutes, so like 2011, 21. And then in 2012, I made 22 minutes, 0.00 in London. And that's when I was crowned the ultimate superhuman. So I started to see that.
And does that still stand today?
No, that was beat a few times more, or like twice after that. Not many times.
I have a new project for your retirement.
Well, yeah, but then in my retirement, I made a new world record in Mexico during COVID too, but we can get back to that just to see if I still had it right. I made the longest dive in the open ocean, 202.0, resembling the year 2020 when everybody complained about COVID and restrictions, they couldn't travel. I was like, let's look at all the beautiful stuff we can do. We can take care of our health We can control our breathing. We can travel to some places that we decide, and we can be free and spend all this free time, so to speak, to make it into a good project. So basically, I just saw that online was the way to go, because on an online platform, there are good and bad things. We all see that now with filters, Instagram, Snapchat, you young people not feeling good enough. But what I saw at that time was, okay, I can scale my knowledge, my experience, my time, my message, and I can scale it across the world, across borders, across religions. And I can sell my products 24/7 and have people helping me sell it with affiliates like partners and stuff like that without even being awake. So I saw a way to freedom there, in a way that fitted perfectly into my lifestyle of this travel, free, working kind of when you want. That's the background, I think.
We'll get back to the conversation in a moment, but first I need to tell you about our sponsors, Nordic Kings. Nordic Kings produce the highest quality of organic grass-fed beef organ supplements. I've used their products for years, which provides me with so many bioavailable micronutrients that I don't need to take any synthetic multivitamin pills. So if you, like me, don't like the taste of beef organs, or you just need to spike your vitamin and mineral levels, Nordic Kings is a reliable and high-quality source. And that's exactly why we've chosen to partner up with Nordic Kings. So head over to their website, nordickings.se/en, where you can save 15% off your next order by using the code HOLISTIC15.
Yeah, and that's
very interesting.
And that's why we brought you here, because of that, because of your resume, basically. But one thing that I thought about was that there must be something that drove you to what you have become today, because you're not a regular guy, as you explain yourself.
Well, I think I'm very regular. That was what I said.
Yeah,
I feel I'm very regular, but
we see each other as regular guys, but people from the outside say that we are special or weird or crazy, you know?
Crazy. Yeah.
But what was the thing? What was the motivation factor that got you to where you are today?
Well, those are, of course, very good questions. I was always very competitive with others, but I think mostly with myself. I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but when I really dedicate myself to a project, I really want to give it my best. I hope everybody has this approach to life, but it doesn't seem so.
They don't, no.
But it also depends on what level, what is the bar? How high standards do you put? And I put extremely high standards on partners I work with, on projects that I work with, and on deliveries on things that we produce to other people. The same with my records. So I'm very dedicated to my records. It has to be that number, 20 minutes, 10 seconds, 0, 0, 22 minutes, 0, 0, 202.0 meters, not 0.4 centimeters or point something. Oh, there was a headwind. Oh, it was raining. Oh, I felt a bit cold. Not all these excuses. But I think from a very young age, because I got into swimming through this talent team, we were 2 or 3 boys selected out of, I don't know, a big group of people. So I got this dedication and learning to work hard from the age of 5. Kind of Russian China, without saying anything negative or bad, but this more strict upbringing. I had wonderful parents. I grew up in Denmark. It's quite soft here, but also very privileged with the education, swimming pool at school. I had my own swimming pool in my backyard. My father built some quite nice houses at that time. So I had my own pool. We also had a nice yacht or a boat where I could sail. We lived on the boat in summer times. And so my parents basically my mom was also a swim teacher besides working with the visually impaired and blind children. But I got into swimming because they simply wanted me to survive. I'm serious. It sounds like a joke. When you're sailing to Sweden, Norway, Germany, I'm half Swedish, so you probably have something, would be my crazy guess from your last name, but my mom's Swedish, so I'm half Swedish. So when we sail to Sweden, Norway, Germany, if you fall overboard, it's quite serious. So they really, of course, you have the life,
the vest,
the vest and everything, but the floats and all this and that. But you still have to be safe. So they wanted me to be a good swimmer around the pool, around the boat, when I was walking around the harbor, fishing crabs and stuff. So it came from that. And then I loved it very much. And then quickly I came in the swimming pool with my brother and with our neighbor, who became later a special operations soldier, funnily enough. And we made this little kind of X5 agent secret, on our typewriter. people today listening, sorry if you don't know what a typewriter is. It's kind of a machine where you punch with your fingers. It's the same as a computer, but with ink.
The old one.
Not even joking. Some people wouldn't know what a typewriter is.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you say, a cassette tape, what? Or VHS, Betamax. But anyways, we made these little cards. We laminated them. We were so proud, like a Mission Impossible secret agent. And then what we would do, we were these special operators in the pool. And we would throw in little plastic animals. Like I said, I was obsessed with animals, dead ones, live ones. I didn't have much toys. Not that my parents didn't give it to me, but it never interested me. Engineering, the cars, stuff that other motorbikes, scooters that normal kids like, I had no interest. I had a scooter at one point, messed with it with some friends for half a year and lost interest. I loved animals, nature, being in nature, connecting with nature, learning about nature. And so I had all these plastic animals, dinosaurs, spiders, all this, and snakes, and we threw them in the pool. And the favorite one, like the Joker, was the skeleton. A human skeleton was all white in plastic. I don't know if you've seen this kind of Halloween skeleton. Yeah. Probably you see them more in America, right? But the eyes were black, painted black. It was like 10 inches, 20 centimeters. That was the Joker. If you threw that in the pool, because the pool was white, you hardly couldn't find it. So that was like the last one, the difficult one to find. So we would have to close our eyes, kind of like peekaboo, and then the other person would throw the animals in on a single breath. We had to collect as many animals as possible. That started from the age of 4 or 5. And there I found out that I was quite good relaxing underwater, even though I was pushing myself, and you can call it peak performance probably in mass lingo. I was under peak performance, but I found this flow, this kind of total relaxed state, and I could pick up all the animals. And that drove me then to all the trips in Southern Europe, the Mediterranean with my parents. We sailed and went to Spain, Yugoslavia, it was called at that time, and France and Italy. And I would just disappear with my brother those 2 weeks, like have some bread, Nutella, whatever, some energy in the morning, some white bread, run out and not come back until I don't know when. And we bought spear guns, we bought knives. We felt so like James Bond at the age of 8, 10, right? And then I found out when I did spearfishing or catching octopus or fish or just observing them, the longer I could hold my breath, the more I could experience. So it really was that drive to just experience nature, kind of Jacques Cousteau, just fascinated with everything.
So you got accustomed to the mental stress through playing games, really.
Yes.
So something difficult became fun for you.
This is 100% correct. And when I always say this, so you are spot on. When something you do is fun, you become good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
When you become good at it, it's a lot of fun. And that is just a positive, wonderful dynamic circle that just goes up, 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 and you become better in many other things in life. And we have this approach, whether it's business or relationships or whatever it is. So I think I just randomly stumbled up on these things. I got into swimming. I was very competitive. Funnily enough, Mads, I've never been here in Jyllinge before in this beautiful garden you have, but my brother has a boat, a speedboat, as I mentioned, not far from here, 10 minutes from here, where we go sailing. I jump in, I do tricks and show my nephew what I can cast. Last time I found a boat on the bottom of the lake, he was like, wow, pirate, you found a wreck. This is crazy. He's 6 years old since last week. But I passed a sign said ølstykke to all the people in the world listening. It's very funny because it means a piece of beer. So like you're a piece of crap or a piece of shit or a piece of ass. It means a piece of beer. It doesn't make much sense, but ølstykke means beer piece.
Beer piece, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird name. It probably means something from the Viking Age, something else. The what brought me back is that when I was probably 9 or 10, I won 4 gold medals at my first Danish championship in swimming. And it was crazy. 2 individuals, 2 team relays, as you say in swimming. And I came back and my parents were like, how? And wow, that's amazing. And they never pushed me, but they were proud of me always. And that competition was in ølstykke.
So you're back to your roots.
How crazy is that? I'm 50 now. I haven't been there for more than 40 years. And why would you go to ølstykke? It's like the smallest city in the world. But I just passed the sign. I was like, a little smile on my face.
It brought back some memories.
Good memories. I remember there was a jumping board where you could almost jump into the roof, into the ceiling and hit your head because the design was so horrible. And I was like, why would anybody put a 10-meter springboard and only have like 3 meters to the roof when it was crazy. Anyways, it was fun.
That's There's no coincidences. That's what we always say.
We'll get back to the conversation in a moment, but first I need to tell you about our sponsor, Functional Self. Functional Self isn't just another health store, it's a lifestyle. They offer a carefully curated range of biohacking tools, supplements, and functional foods that are scientifically proven to elevate your well-being. I've used them for many years now in everything from the MagTech Magnesium to the Rosita cod liver oil. And guess what? They ship all over the Europe, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And that's why we have chosen to partner up with Functional Self. So if you're serious about taking your health to the next level, check out the full range at functionalself.com and use the code HOLISTIC10 to save 10% off your first order.
But I have one, I've been reading your book, and so there's a lot of Eastern philosophy in it. When did you start opening your eyes to that world? Because that's a completely different world, but when you combine that with the Western mythology and being a biologist and researching, because that's kind of what that part of the world is missing, right? The scientific method and everything, and how to research stuff.
They are missing that, and we're missing
that. Yeah, but when you combine them, but how did you kind of open your eyes to that, and when did you do that?
Well, I think, like I said, with the asthma and the breathing and being like kind of in the pranayama, being aware of how breathing affects you was like an early start, just God-given or randomly or by nature, whatever you want to call it. But then I stopped competitive swimming as a teenager. And then I started a little bit of horseback riding, which is probably why I have horses today, beautiful Icelandic Viking horses. I showed the picture. It's actually my first foal's birthday today.
Nice.
Congratulations. 3 years, yeah. She's so beautiful, so sweet. I don't know if you put pictures, but if you do, we can put one in your
let's do it,
video.
For sure.
But anyways, she's a cutie. And I also started judo at the same time. So horseback riding was like, just tried it, whatever, okay. But then I really got into judo. And I was the Danish champion twice, quite quickly, back to what we talked about before, dedication, stubbornness,
competitiveness,
being very competitive with others, but mostly with myself. It's only been mostly with myself. My training, I can always push myself harder. I know that I've trained harder than anyone else. I probably have a better chance of winning, even though I'm not the best. This is very important.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not the best in physically or your length or your strength, but you have the tenacity, you keep going, and you believe that you believe you have put the most work and effort. And kind of like Ronaldo, I think I'm not a big football fan, but he really trains hard, and it's not a coincidence. He's brilliant. But that's just to end it off. Then the judo means the mild path, mild passage, the soft way, the gentle way. And judo got me into stretching and understanding yoga. And we did stretches with each other because the more flexible you are. And judo is like jiu-jitsu. It's like throwing people, learning how to fall, which was very lucky. 3 weeks ago, I had a big crash, had a big hole in, not this suit, this is Shaping You Tomorrow, but the old Shaping You Tomorrow, in the back here because I trembled off my bike and flew 10 meters. And I didn't hurt myself at all. I never broke a bone in my body, and I'm 50. And I was quite wild as a child. I wasn't had to stop kindergarten because I was too wild. My parents told me yesterday I climbed up in trees, and they're like, he is a little bit too energetic. So we got a nanny at home. But that got me into the world of the Asian philosophy. Focus, controlling breath, exhaling slowly. When you're strangled, or in judo you can strangle, or when you have the you're fighting on the ground and stuff like that, the more you can control your breathing. I now train the Navy SEALs, and I train the elite forces in breathwork for close-up combat. Okay. Even here in Denmark also. But when you can control your breathing at any instant in life, you have so much more power, mentally, physically, maybe spiritually. So very short answer, it was the judo that brought me into the world of opening my eyes for judo. The way you breathe also needs to connect with the way you move, and
especially in judo, right? Breathing is, I've heard that wrestling and these kind of things, breathing is very important. I don't know, I have never done it, so I don't know.
Well, it is because it's like a sprint spurt where you're throwing someone, so you're exploding all the time. So in between those little rests, I've made I invented something I call the break in the break. So I teach that to a lot of athletes. If you know Victor Axelsen, best badminton player ever lived, winning everything, just won last week again. So I'm teaching people the break in the break. How do you make a natural break in your sport, in your performance, in your business pitch, in your sales pitch, in your acquisition, in your everyday life? How do you make that little pause in the pause? And in sports, elite sports, you have different natural breaks where you can make the break longer or make it more your break. So you can breathe in and out when you bounce the ball. That brings you back to that peaceful state, that state you practice with your yoga, that kind of anchor that you have, instead of freaking out and losing mental control, because then it's all over. We all know that.
But how do you feel the correspondence is between your Western perspective from your PhD and then to your more Eastern perspective? Because I have the same view. I have a lot of knowledge from the Eastern world and from the Western scientific world, and it helps me a lot. But it's like we live in a paradigm where people from the Western medicine scientific side cannot see anything else but what's in here, you know?
Yes.
So how have you experienced that?
I live in that world with doctors and hospitals and politicians and everybody very narrow-minded and conservative, to put it very nicely.
Absolutely.
So that is, of course, why I went on this life mission. It has become my life mission. This is what I'm dedicating my life to. I'm retired now, but that doesn't mean I don't do projects or do lectures or keynotes or help in charity. Like I mentioned my birthday before, we help 250 kids in Cambodia. So on that website, not that this is a big donation, but stig50.com if people want to donate or look. I donated all my presents for my 50th birthday. I didn't want presents because I'm not, like I said, interested in material things. I said, it's much better to donate to a good cause. Somebody really needs it. Books, food, education.
Yeah.
So I've thrown my love on this project for the last few years in Cambodia, the most beautiful kids, and that horrendous story they've gone through, the country just in the last 50, 100 years. But back on track here on Matt's question, maybe to answer you, Jacob, more correctly, I started my big interest and journey into the world of yoga and Eastern philosophy when I was 21, 22. At that time, in 93, 94, I started my studies at biology in Aarhus. And through those years, I did more and more underwater rugby. I played for 12 years. People probably don't know what it is. It is not water polo, which is also a great sport, but underwater rugby is literally announced many times the most crazy, insane, maniacal sport in the world many years in a row, because it is crazy. There are no rules. You are in like 15 feet of water. There's a steel case on the bottom that is the goal. Looks like a basketball net, like the size of a basketball hoop. And then you just go absolutely berserk, like the Vikings would have done. There are no rule, but it's 3 dimensions, so it's beautiful. It trains your adaptation, your reflexes, your balance, and you're free. Also, it's a beautiful feeling, and it's on breath hold. If people don't understand, it's in the deep end of the pool. So I played that, as I mentioned, also became Danish champion. Played on the Danish national team. Played elite division for 12 years, and that got me into more and more understanding of breathing and breath holding. And then my coach, again, like you said, things are coincidental. Maybe they're not always, but I think it also depends on what you pick up. We talk about serendipity. I love this world. Random acts of things that happen. Serendipity.
Synchronicity, yeah,
Also synchronicity. But serendipity is just, I love this word.
What is that?
Serendipity means like a random act of something that happens, like, oh, I just met him now this day that I came back here and saw this sign, kind of.
But so it's that random thing.
But then it's up to you, I think, to pick that good moment, right?
Exactly.
Do you take the deal or not? Do you walk away and from a relationship, from it, whatever?
And in order to even, we've been talking about that many times as well, in order to even be able to recognize when these things occur, that's synchronicity. Carl Jung described this as synchronicity, right? And in order to even be able to pick those up, you gotta be able to be in tune with nature and be in tune with yourself and how you work. Intuition. And I think it's also, like you said, you're not interested in material things or technology or cars and these things, but what is the most advanced piece of technology that will ever exist, right? It's here and it's here, right?
Human machine.
So the most advanced part is ourself and nature. If you look at nature, how advanced it is, and whoever or whatever built that.
Yeah, everything in technology is already nature.
Yeah, everything becomes secondary to that.
Every way of
we don't need it.
So it's not that I'm against technology, and I think it's great. It can work for us and AI and this. We could talk forever, but But of course, we need to make smart use of it. And you can always use a weapon for a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
And many other things, right? Beer you can use to relax, or wine to have a good time, have a fun night with your girlfriend, your friends, but you can also become an alcoholic. So, I mean, it's always a responsibility and yeah.
Balance.
But maybe to just end this one, Jacob, for the audience, so they maybe understand it better. In the late part of my studies, I got more and more into the freediving. And then my national coach said to me, it's great to have guidance also. He said, Stig, you're great at underwater rugby. I was never a big guy. I'm quite tall, 6'1", 6'2". I'm 82, 85 kilos, depending on how I train. But like 100, what is that? 180, 170 pounds. I'm not like a big guy. Those rugby players are like, they're
massive.
They're giants, right?
Yeah.
So I had the ability to swim fast. I could move quickly, and I had good reflexes, and I could hold my breath. That was a great advantage. So I never stopped, like a golden retriever. I ran around and I was catching the ball. I was in the attack, right?
Yeah.
I was never in the defense. I was not big and strong enough. But he said to me, Stig, you're a great player, but you can never become great. You can never become the best, And he said, and I was already at that time training these big, crazy, wild Viking guys, 2 meters, and hair growing out between the front teeth, as we say. I was already training them in yoga and breathwork, the passage, or the way you have also gone. And they were like, these big, but they understood it was better for the breath holding times. And when they saw me doing 4 or 5 minutes, I remember one time in training, I went down to the bottom, I stayed for 4 minutes, maybe 5, I think it was 4. And then I swam 50 meters after that to one end and back. They were like, that's it. So, the proof is in the pudding. Money talks, bullshit walks. I didn't have to be the best or the strongest. They knew it worked, but I could show them, so they listened. Kind of the same I do now with the military, training the Danish Navy SEALs, the Royal Air Force and so forth. Anyways, then he said to me, Stig, you should pursue freediving fully. You have such an incredible skill and talent and knack for this breath holding. And in 2002, we had the World Championship in Denmark. So that was a big thing. The year before, I'd been in the Nordic Championship in Norway with underwater rugby. But 2002, it was in Denmark. It was like the epitome. It was like the highest point, the golden final of my career. But I stopped before that. And I pursued my freediving career just like he advised, Tony, this trainer. And the year after, and I trained like I've never trained before, and I describe it a bit in the book also. And there I really got into yoga because I understood the Eastern philosophy. I had a friend who said, Stig, just an old high school friend, he said, you should talk with this girl, Katarina. She's doing this art of living. And you should try some breathing techniques. And I was, very young, like I said. So I tried that, and then I got deeper and deeper into it. And then quickly after I went to India. Then I went traveling around the world, and I saw all these things. So that's how it got to me. And then I went to Rishikesh, which is a famous yoga school, like a yoga place in northern India near the Himalayas. And then I went back again to Tibet. I went to Bhutan. I went on all these spiritual / business trips. So that's how I got into it, because I was so interested in how can I hold my breath longer. Yeah. So the short answer that you asked before is I wanted to learn breathing to be able to hold my breath. It sounds like a paradox, but it is not. If you want to understand the whole breathing process, which is my entire philosophy in breathology that I teach people, you also need to understand the other side of breathing, which is breath holding. And that is what I've learned through my sports and my endeavors.
I guess yoga is probably the most, when it comes to breathing, the most, complete knowledge. Advanced.
Yeah, especially pranayama, the fourth limb of yoga, which combines the physical aspect of doing asana, which is the third step, the physicality, the sport, we would call it gymnastics, but also combining the first steps that are more be good to other people. It's almost like the rules in every religion, be nice
sutras, right?
But also the yama niyama. So be good to yourself, stay clean, stay healthy, and then the third step is the movement, the asana, and then pranayama. And then you have the more meditational stages, spiritual stages coming after. So I think the pranayama was a perfect connection for me, linking between the physical body and the mind. So I see it as a bridge connecting those two. I still see it that way. That is how it is for me. So you're very right that pranayama is yoga is the most complete system ever developed. But then fascinatingly enough, we see breathwork in all cultures of all times.
Yeah.
With the stars, with the sun, with alignment, with
Music.
energy, with music.
So it must mean something very fundamental to the human nature.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
We'll get back to the conversation in a moment, but first I need to tell you about our sponsor, Bahe. Bahe have created the world's first running shoe which allows you to be grounded when going barefoot isn't practical. And as you all know, I'm a major advocate of the benefits that nature can bring us, and I ground myself daily to decrease inflammation and maximize my longevity. And they look much nicer than a regular sports shoe. So head over to bahe.co to check them out. And you can use the code HOLISTIC10 to get 10% off your first order.
But I'm still curious to what you think have taught you the most, your PhD or
God no.
or the Eastern medicine.
No, I shouldn't stop the camera here.
Yeah.
I guess we're pretty in agreement.
No, nothing wrong about science and education. So it could come off a bit wrong there. I loved my studies. I'm curious by heart. I told you the first word I said is I'm curious. Who are you? I'm curious.
Yeah.
You know, I'm also all these champions and all this and that. I hope I'm a great friend. I'm a doer. I really love to complete things and so forth. But most of all, I'm just a curious guy or a kid who still behave or act very much like a kid or inner child, at least keep that alive, and don't care so much about society and what people think. That's also why I'm a free spirit and a free citizen of the world. I live in all these places. I have, I live in Malaysia. I have the Malaysian as my second home. It's like a residency. I have residence in Spain. I have residency in Dubai, an investor visa. So I just bought a home in 2020 when I did this world record in Mexico. I thought I go nuts if I only train. Let's do some business. So I looked for property and I bought a beautiful home there on the beach. It's a beautiful place, La Paz. It means the peace of place, like Pax in Greek, but Paz in Spanish or Latin. And it's just a beautiful place with nature, whales, blue whales, whale sharks, sea lions all year round. It's a beautiful, untouched spot. So I could just see, again, those 6-8 years ahead, this is good investment. More people will come. We can teach people to be in touch with nature. It's a great base to have. Yeah. So I was always free. So the PhD was never wrong. It was my means, actually. And people think I'm joking about it. Like you probably thought it actually did sponsor my freediving, because let's get real here. I never earned money as a freediver. You know, when I won my last 2 titles in Slovenia, the 2 last gold medals, I won a camera that wasn't even waterproof and a vacuum cleaner. And no offense, my girlfriend wanted that, so she got it, but I didn't like push it on to her, this Trine. Yeah. So it was never for fortune or you can say fame. Maybe it's a bit of vanity and fame, but it's mostly for myself, you know, with the world records and world championship and the firm belief that you will win. But it was never, I spent, so maybe it's important people understand this, you know, besides if I made a career and I made money and you can say became successful in making a company that I have this free lifestyle now, but I paid a lot of dues and sweat and blood and tears and all this and that, but also a lot of money to do all this freediving. I was sponsored, you know, maybe a little sponsor here and there, like these guys gave a camera that was some random company in Slovenia, right, in Kranj, right? So I would get a t-shirt sponsored or so, but never like a football player, tennis player, or golf player, because they have money and big cars and they have an audience that have money to buy golf clubs and a Range Rover and stuff like that. So I actually spent all my money on my freediving career. Maybe it's important to people to understand I was not just like given all this and the money. So the PhD was great because it was flexible. So my day would look like this. I would go early in the morning, especially in winter, to this Viking club. I would do my ice diving, my ice swimming to train for the Guinness World Record when I wanted to beat this Wim Hof record. Which I think, of course, I just met him like 2 weeks ago. He was at Christian Stadium's event. He got a big prize.
Yeah, you met him here?
I met him 2 weeks ago, but I didn't even have time to speak because there were like 600 people in the garden, but I just met him.
We did too. We had an interview with him as well.
Yeah, but I didn't even get to speak to him because there were 600 people. Everybody wanted to talk about everything, but he got this prize. And so my point is, I think it's great what he's doing. But in 2010, nobody knew of him. Nobody in the world. I just found I found his video on YouTube. I had no clue who this crazy guy in shorts was. I thought, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I could see he was not a swimmer. That was very obvious.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm a swimmer. My style was breaststroke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you swim the style underwater without your fins. And I did ice swimming since I was very young. So I thought, okay, probably I can beat this record. And then we had an ice winter. Maybe you remember when I tell you in 2010. So I used that moment, that window of 3 months with sub-zero temperatures, and I trained hard. I broke the Guinness World Record. I broke the Wim Hof record. And in a lake near Skanderborg, where there's this festival.
Oh, so it's home here.
Yeah, that one was here. The big one that you saw on Discovery Channel when I had my own program, the beautiful one, that was in Greenland.
Yeah.
It looks like Avatar, like it's rendered pixel, but it's not. It's no filter, nothing. It was very beautiful. Nice. Speaking about nature and this connection. What a present. But anyways, with talking about this stuff with the PhD, it gave me the ability to go and swim in the morning. Like 7, I would wake up, race my bike. Everybody bikes in Denmark. Mads knows, but people listening to this podcast maybe don't know. Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Norway, we go on bikes. We have 2 or 3 bikes. We don't jump in the car. We also maybe have a car, but not when we're students. We can't afford it. So for saving money and for saving nature and for saving our own health, we ride the bike, right? And so I would race to this Viking club. I would jump in, no sauna after. I had a friend there, another American, who we were studying together. So I would do my PhD studies with him. We would start the day to be fresh, get the immune system strong, boost the energy, boom, 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 get the little ticker running, the little heart running. Then we would race back with our bikes. So no sauna, but racing a bike also gets you warm in the muscles. Then I would start my day. Would work on my studies, go to my laboratory, would do my microscopy, very complicated stuff, scanning, electron microscopy, gold spotter, coat different tissues, look at the atoms, how they would reflect, very complicated stuff, nerdy, funny stuff, like flying an F-16.
Yeah.
A scanning electron microscope is like, I've also flown in the F-16 because I'm lucky I trained these guys. And now I was training the F-35 fighter pilots in Luke Air Force Base a few months ago. So it looks like an F-16, literally. With all these, monitors and stuff. Yeah. So I would do that. Then I would, of course, have lunch, maybe do stretching, maybe go for a run in the afternoon. And then I would have my training in the evening. And because you can never free dive alone, the golden rule of all diving, never dive alone. I lost my other best friend 10 years ago.
Because of that, right?
Because you die or black out if nobody's there to pick you up. It's not dangerous to free dive or black out, but it's dangerous to black out alone. Because you will drown.
Yeah, so that's what happened to your best friend.
My best friend drowned, dead. Really, my beautiful best friend, my other best friend. So I lost my 2 best friends in life.
Yeah, both.
Very touching. So I'm kind of adopted in his family now. So one of those trips I told you about, I had 6 birthday trips now. Rooftop in Bangkok, then in Malaysia, on another beautiful random rooftop where I also live, and then in Dubai, where I had a pool party on my birthday, the 8th of March, this Pisces Day, and also Women's International Day. And then I had a big yacht in the evening, the biggest I could get, because so many people said they wanted to come, so I had to upgrade to the biggest yacht I could get in Dubai, and then we had a sunset cruise, and it was beautiful. But then from Dubai, I raced to Spain, to Barcelona, where I also studied. I speak Spanish fluently now after I moved there, and Catalan, which they love because they're very proud of being Catalan. There's actually as many Catalan, like 6-7 million, like we're Danes. So there's actually many of them around the north and eastern Spain. Also the Baleares, the islands, are also belonging to Catalonia. Minorca, Mallorca, and Ibiza, where people go partying. But it's a beautiful island also. So I went there just one night to have dinner with his mother. Alex was his name. I get very touched by it. And his brothers are like, I'm an adopted brother. So I had that dinner, raced the next morning to Mexico City and then to my house in La Paz. Had another party there, then to Florida where I grew up. I grew up in Florida. I didn't tell you that, but I also lived there and surfed and learned to dive and free dive and hold my breath with dolphins and sharks and sea turtles and race and all this beautiful stuff. And I lived on a beach in Pensacola Beach during the Gulf War in 1990, 1991. So I had a party there, some of my old high school friends, and then went to New York and had the biggest party there in the Explorers Club. We had the gala dinner, and then also I rented this venue, and I had a beautiful thing there. It's also on this Stig 50, I think, .com.
So you have 7 50-year-olds.
But my point is, I went to see Alex's parents, his mother and his brothers, on to celebrate my birthday, and that he can't celebrate. And then last year, when he had the 10 years, wouldn't call it a celebration, but commemoration.
Memorial.
Memorial. Thank you. Yeah. I had the book translated. His brother did that as a gift to me, and the love for my grandmother. That was a great inspiration for me. I didn't talk about that, but that was a great inspiration in my life to do things well, to be nice to other people, to use the skills you have. You're obligated, if you have skills, to help other people do better. That was the gifts I got from my grandmother in Sweden. So because of this love he saw to my love to Alex, his brother, and to my grandmother, he spent the whole year in COVID, or year and a half, and translated the book without telling me. And one day he sent me a memory stick with a dolphin on it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like that baby dolphin on the memory stick, like for kids. And the whole book was here in Catalan. So I had the team work on it. And for his 10 years memorial, we had printed 100 books. I could have printed 1,000, but how can you carry or send 1,000 books and print in Poland? So I had 100 books sent to my friends in northern Spain, Costa Brava, in the northern part of Barcelona, near or Catalonia, near to Spain, near to France, and in this wild coast, the Costa Brava, we had the memorial. We went out on his day that he died in August, and had the divers and the boats. One boat is named after him and has his life motto on it, and everybody got a book signed, and I signed every single book for all the people that either knew Alex or had known him or heard of him, and they were all out there. And we had divers go down with rose pellets where he drowned and relieved those so they would float to the surface. And then we all threw out these pellets, rose leaves, rose pellets in yellow, white, red. And then we would jump in and free dive exactly on the spot where he died. And the guy who found him, the chief police, was also crying just like a river. Even though he was a tough guy, 60 years old, he has seen 2,000 dead people in his life. Alex meant a lot to him. He was a very special person, Alex.
That's beautiful.
So to have this freedom again, to have the rights, to have the money to print whatever books I want, when I want to have my team working on it, dedicate a book to Alex in Catalan, honoring his legacy and his brother, right? And to have the right to publish the book is incredibly lucky, but also smart, right? I just stepped on the wire here, moving my legs. I think it's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah, just checking. But anyway, I think we came a long way from the main question.
Yeah, but that's a beautiful story, man.
And I think it was something about Wim Hof and birthday.
Yeah, but one thing I think is really interesting about, I didn't know, only now that I meet you.
Yeah.
You travel a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I recently lived in China for 7 years. I just came back and went to India also. And for me, I can't read stuff in a book and fully believe it until I see it. I feel like you need to go places. You need to touch things. You need to see it. You need to talk to people.
We need to touch things. That's very true.
And I think that's also the same with Wim Hof when we talk to people. When we talk to people that are all in this way, they all have that same urge to travel and see things with their own eyes instead of just reading a book and that's it, And I think that's interesting that you had your birthday in 7 different countries.
That's also why I said I was laughing a bit with the PhD. God, no, it's like the life of school where you learn. But of course, I learned a tremendous deal of studying, of a method to acquire knowledge. And to be smart. And we did a lot of statistics. So smart meaning smart assessment. So is this true? All this COVID nonsense, for example, we have.
What do you think about that?
Don't even get me started. Just look at my Facebook post. I was the greatest opponent to all this bullshit, nonsense, ridiculous Nazi bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
From the Mette Frederiksen, Danish prime minister, to Biden, to administration, to the whole nonsense stuff, to all the bought pharmacies, to Pfizer, it's just a big scam, right?
It's a scam.
If it was dangerous, let's just go to the facts now. If it were, as you say in proper English, dangerous, you would have seen dead bodies all over the place. You wouldn't be able to walk in the streets for damn dead bodies. You would have kids lying in all these places that I'm talking about. India, Cambodia, Mexico, all the places where I go where they're exposed, but they do not have medical treatment. They do not have a good nutrition every day. They do not have doctors or insurance taking care of them. They would have been dead by the billions. No kid died, right? No kid died. I don't know of any child who died of COVID. And most of the people, and I don't say I don't have respect for people who lost people. That would be a very, wrong way of interpreting this. But nobody died of COVID. They died of underlying comorbidity. Now we see the data coming out. Now we see all the things that I was screaming about.
Exactly.
With the myocardial infarct, which means some failure in the little doors in the heart, just to speak in a normal language, and especially in young men. We see all these guys dropping dead. we know that there was no reason or impact. It was a grand lie from the Danish health authorities and politicians to say that now, and I have all these recorded and posted them on Facebook. Søren Svagstrøm, as I call him, the Danish health spokesperson. He's a doctor. Søren Brostrøm, but I call him Svagstrøm, no connection. Very weak connection, because he made this commercial. Now you just take this vaccine, and in 2 weeks we're all back to a normal life. What bullshit! And how could they know that? It is a lie. It's a blatant. I get all upset, right? It's a blatant lie, because no, you don't even need to be an idiot. You need to be an amoeba or imbecile to even understand that when there's a COVID pandemic or whatever they called it, or escalated it to in WHO, so they could also get money from the sponsoring pharmaceuticals that sponsor WHO. So when they went out with all this, nobody had tested it, so they could not say it was safe. Already there, it's a lie. It's a mortal lie, because you don't know what's coming after, all the side effects, all the negative side effects that we see now, and people have all these post-COVID traumas,
especially athletes, right?
Yeah,
especially people who work at high intensities. We see that in long.
So long story short, it was nonsense. It was bullshit. Nobody really died from COVID. You died if you're fat, old, had cardiac
lifestyle,
lifestyle. If you had already an unhealthy lifestyle, normal, healthy people would not die. You always have some people dying, and you also have people getting hit by the bus and drowning and falling down the ladder when they're painting the summer house. So that's life. But to stop all young children's education, their social education, their social awareness, their schooling, literally schooling books,
it's much more dangerous in the long run.
But
also the businesses,
because no kids were affected. And then they came with the vaccines and said, "Oh, take one, then you don't get COVID." Yes, you do. And then we saw that actually the viral load, as it's called, and I am I have a PhD in medicine, so I understand kind of these things, what's going on. But that's what I mentioned before with the PhD, to make it line back. I did a lot of statistics and analysis and all these things to do my PhD study. So it's also a gift. It was just to not be so negative about the PhD.
You can navigate in all that.
But you learn to navigate in information. And what is bullshit. And you can just look at it. You don't even need to know the vaccine, know what's in it, or how many of them.
Just look at it.
But it's bullshit when they say this and that, and it's safe. No. And then Facebook was, like another hooker, prostitute bought, and all these. And now I saw yesterday the Biden administration actually under a good attack from Missouri and I think it was Alabama, the state head of state. They're making this case. And they demand to see all of course, these Nazi fascists, like we had in Denmark, from Mette Frederiksen and these politicians, all these demands, when, for example, Mette Frederiksen, the Danish prime minister, sent the military and the police out illegally to border people that were raising farming animals. You're not allowed to cross private borders in America. You get shot. That's easy. You could shoot the police. You'll be in your good rights. It's private property called trespassing. But in Denmark, they give a shit about that. People are kind of lame and stupid and have a good lifestyle, so they don't really make a big revolution. So we said in the police, it was a revolution or a national war, because we were fighting against police and military. And no matter how much you want to sugarcoat it, they were just out checking. No, they were not. They were breaking through fences. They were entering private property. It was a violation of the freedom of speech and freedom of rights. And they said, oh, so dangerous. And then it wasn't. They killed all the minks, all the little ferrets in Denmark for fur production. If people don't know this,
18
million. So when you draw parallel to the Nazis and gassing people because they were gassing this mink, it's not like a random coincidence. It was Nazi-style propaganda. Propaganda meaning this is what is right. So in all Facebook posts you did, of course, you got censored. This is what the thing is about the Biden administration now. They didn't want to see what messages was sent from the Biden office, from the head of state, to all the social media platforms. It came out yesterday.
It just came out,
So long story short, it was bullshit. It was nonsense. Of course, you need to take caution when you have the bird flu or swine flu or something. But it was just another flu.
But this is not a bird flu, right?
And it was not that dangerous, because if it had been that dangerous, everybody had died, which they didn't. So now they're kind of backpedaling. But then again, people are complacent. People, meaning those people listening here. Hopefully not your podcast, the listeners, because they're more smart, they're more educated, they're more revolutionary, they're curious, freedom seekers. They don't care. They want the truth, but not at any cost. But politicians and other prostitutes, they want the money no matter what. They take the money first, like pharmaceutical companies. And now we know from Pfizer and from all these vaccines, they did not work. They did not prevent COVID, nor preventing you from getting COVID, nor, that was what I was going to say before, that word virulent, the viral load. It's even higher sometimes because you don't build up natural immunity. Going back to what I was saying on the Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff, that they had this banner. And they banned you, first of all, they banned you or just deleted your YouTube videos or Facebook posts, or they put, when they said vaccine here, there, this is COVID proven, it's totally safe. Yeah. We guarantee bullshit. What the hell?
If people can't see that aggressive, approach to the things is abnormal, is total absurd.
It's absurd. It's absurd. But yet,
why are they fighting so much to get their little message out,
Yeah. If it was so great, probably people would do it on their own accord.
Exactly.
So anyways, you now heard, and I totally stand by every word, and I've posted more than anyone in all these videos and stuff in comparison to Nazi in Germany. I'm not saying there are Nazis, because they're not Nazis, they're social democrats.
But the methods are Nazi.
But the Nazis' methods are used, it's propaganda, it's brainwashing, it's actually taking benefit of people who are not well educated or don't have the ability or time or money to get the information, and they're just like dumb sheep. Oh, we'll take this vaccine. Then they have to live with the shit and the consequences after. And guess what? Where are the politicians and the pharmaceutical companies now when it comes to compensation? You have to look a long way to see them, because they've run far away with the money. So it's very absurd that the world is not more awake. But thank God we have Mats and guys like you, Jacob, and podcast and information that is now hopefully again being less and less banned. And we should never forget, lest we forget, right? As they say in America about the fallen ones, lest we forget. We should never forget what happened in 2020. The violence, the raping of our freedom and I'm like the proper spokesperson for that, because I live in a free world. I live around the world. I'm more.
You see from many perspectives,
No, I don't mean I'm better than anyone else. I'm just saying I'm living the modern life of being a global citizen of the world that you also now told me interestingly live. Maybe Matt's also, or maybe has other obligations, but more and more people will live like this. Speaking about this crystal ball, I always look into what trends would I go into. Now everybody's talking about breathwork. I made a TED talk 3 years ago called "Breath Holding is the New Black." You can find it. It's called exactly that. Breath Holding is the New Black. And I've been doing 2 TED talks, and I always use half the time not to talk about my Guinness World Records, because how fascinating people ever find them. They're not the greatest thing on earth, right? It's just another record. It's gone. Who knows? Another one beats it. Records are made to be beaten. But half the time I spend on a message. So on the one in 2010, I talk about Lyme's disease, how I cured a person. The doctor said you can never walk again. That's a short story. People can find it. TED Talk, TEDx. My name's Stig Åvall and TED. They'll find it. 2010. And 2019, I made this just before COVID. A year before, in spring, I made this called Breath Holding is the New Black. And I spent half the time talking also about Alex and his death and how he drowned, but more honoring him. I spoke mostly about PTSD because I work with veterans. But that is not only for the military. That is my specialty because I work with them. But it's also women that have been assaulted, raped, battered, abused.
You see,
PTSD can be sickness, it can be cancer, it can be a car accident, it can be any trauma in life.
Personal trauma.
But that's interesting because...
And how to cure that, with normal.
You want to say something first?
Yeah.
I have to take a piss.
Yeah, okay, me too.
So we'll be back in 1 minute.
But that's also, I guess you guys are talking about the Western philosophy combined with when you have the results.
Yeah, a lot of data, you see it. So we miss that a little in the Eastern philosophy, but we also need to present it more. And this is what Mads is saying. So we can talk about the PTSD and we can talk about this. What is actually happening in the body?
But that's where... okay, you go.
I'm very curious on this one because we talked about COVID and there's no doubt that natural immunity is superior to anything.
Natural what?
Natural immunity.
No, we have to cut. Sorry, we have to cut this out. You cannot say immunity. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. No. Immunity doesn't exist. That is something that we...
Yeah.
Don't say that word. That's like
So we have there. We just put
you're banning yourself.
I just got scared.
All podcast platforms.
We're getting deplatformed now. Natural immunity is superior to almost any type of medicine. And one of the components that defines natural immunity is the strength of our diaphragm, our lungs, all this respiratory function. And you must be the best person to tell, how do you strengthen your lungs? How do you strengthen your diaphragm to be able to hold your breath for 22 minutes?
I think any diver could tell you, especially free divers, because that's what we do. So that is how I got into all this yoga stretching, because I wanted to become the world champion, right? And set a world record, which I did then in 2003. To go back to the story, depending on how you cut and edit this. But in 2002, my national underwater rugby coach said, better you focus on freediving. And I gave up the 2002 World Championship. And I trained for 1 year like a maniac. And then I forgot to say, the point was that then in 2003, I set the first, I made my first world record, where I beat the world record by 30 meters, more than any record beat in the history of freediving before. And then I continued, 5, another world record, world champion, and then 6, 7, and 6, we became the national world champions for a team that had never been done in Denmark. Then again in 10, I was the coach. So I coached the national team with some outsiders, and they won. And again, we were not the best team. Going back to what I said in the beginning, you don't have to be the best, but we trained the smartest. We worked the hardest, and we were the best teammates. And we won over 3-4 teams that were better. One of them is Guillaume Nery, the one who makes this incredible movie. He's a good-looking guy. He's sponsored by Biotherm or Biotherm, this company, perfume, body lotion thing. And he's here tonight, so I'll meet him tonight. And he's going to cycle with his girlfriend to the Polar Circle. So all the way up through Sweden and then Norway. But he landed last night and he was texting me. And so I trained with him for world records. He trained with me in Aarhus, stayed in my apartment.
Did you have any specific protocols?
I stayed with him in Nice. But randomly, again, serendipity, there you can use the word. I speak about Guillaume. Guillaume is very much into stretching. He's extremely flexible. So back to your question, how do you improve breathing function, lung flexibility? And what we do is in freediving, we look at a lot of yoga. We get inspired like you, and then we travel to all these places, Rishikesh and Japan and China, all this stuff that we do. And then we take the best of what we see. And I think the beautiful / powerful thing about yoga and freediving combined, which I then distilled into my book or my platform, my philosophy called Breathology, which is a full 360-degree view on the breathing process. Breathing, it's really good. Breath holding. Thank you. But then also described from the philosophy of the Eastern world, but also with the modern facts of science in the world. Plus, now comes the kicker. Also, the peak performance. The proof is in the pudding. I'm a no bullshit guy. Show me the fucking money. Don't talk about the website you can design. Don't talk about how many clients you can get me. Get me the clients. Show me the website. Show me your breath hold. So in freediving, you have the third aspect of breathology, which is a mix of Eastern philosophy, breaking technology, modern science, and peak performance. Those are the 3 pillars. There's 3 things that the stability of the platform of the foundation of breathology. And with the peak performance, you take cutting-edge science, you measure your heart rate, you measure your fasting, your blood sugar, your brainwave activity, with all this fascinating, wonderful technological machinery that we have developed as smart human beings. And you apply that on the knowledge and experience, the tangible experience from the Eastern philosophy. And then in freediving, it's like a great epiphany or a great summary. What does it mean to take the best technology and measure and know about your heart rate and your blood pressure and the diaphragm, and using the stretching and the mindset and the relaxation from Eastern philosophy, and then putting it to hardcore peak performance? That is what freediving is.
So it is showing data.
You. Yes, so I'm not like against technology. I just don't like cars. I'm not interested in motorbikes. But a lot of the technology of pulse watches, of the Garmin, of the Apple, of all this stuff you can do. So variables, right? Modern small technology things you can wear and then measure blood sugar, pulse, heart rate, sleep pattern. I'm fascinating about. I'm working with many companies in this field to help them develop this. But my point is, freediving is the best sport or lifestyle that, again, like a bridge, combines the world of the Eastern philosophy and modern scientific studies. And when you free dive, you have to hold your freaking breath. So again, it doesn't matter what watch you have or what philosophy you did. If it works when you hold your breath longer, you did something right. And that was what I learned. Like you went traveling to Hong Kong and China. I studied and I went to India and I started to learn all this for my freediving career. I was a nobody or whatever you can call me in the beginning. I was not a good freediver. I was just, okay, good. I had skills and I had persistence, but I was not like super good. Then I became the Danish champion. Then I became the Nordic champion and so forth. I was not a world champion.
You found your own way.
Yeah. And I saw, because the proof is in the pudding. In freediving, you dive a distance, either long distance, with or without fins. You dive deep. I also had that world record. I had both, also with the fin, without the fin. The one in Mexico, the 2020, the 200 2.0 was with the monofin. Beautiful long dive. I wanted it to be a beautiful Discovery Channel, kind of looking like a National Geographic, looking like a whale. So I had this vision. Before I do the records, I always visualize, what should it be? What is the concept? What theater am I going to build around it? What people do I need? Which boats? So I bought drones. We had other professional drone guys coming out. So we have these aerial shots of me swimming underwater with 2 safety persons on the surface. So it looks like a whale traveling, just like I'd seen the blue whale traveling in La Paz
in your mind.
Water.
Yeah.
No, I'd seen it also in the water, but then I see it in my mind. I should do the same. This is the presentation I want to bring out to people. And then when I do the record, it is a combination of cutting-edge science and of Eastern philosophy. But you only see the proof when you see the dive.
Yeah.
And then I don't think people think so much about technology, how I train, or about Eastern philosophy. But they see something like the Wim Hof is waking up so many people, like you can test, to talk about later or be a testimony to. So we need to get back to ourselves and tap into this untouched knowledge that has been for thousands of years used, but not understood.
But to me, it's also when you read, I also, because I was in China for so long, I read Taoism and the Book of Changes, for instance, which is also very, very close to the Yogic Sutras. But in some ways, I feel like it's even more fundamental. They really give you a certain, that's where acupuncture comes from. Also meditation.
And the same as
Qigong
areas,
Feng Shui, how everything comes from that system. But the thing is that it feels like sometimes when you read these books, both the I Ching and when you read the Yogic Sutras, that they are in front of our advanced state, that we don't have the instruments to, for instance, be able to measure your chakras yet, or your acupuncture. You don't know how pointing here is going to affect your liver, but it will, and you can measure it, but you don't know how will it get from here to here.
Science try.
Yeah, but
they fail.
We don't have to find. They don't believe it until they have the fine-tuned instruments to go there. And those
you are 1,000% right. I'm so glad I came in today, both what Mads said so corrected before, but also this is kind of my not that you're stealing my sayings, but at least my philosophy of we don't have fine-tuned instruments. And I work, like I said before, scanning electron microscopy, transmission microscopy. I mean, it's the highest, most sophisticated. It's like flying a fighter jet. And we sputter cold, we put gold on it, we measure atoms, we do crazy stuff to magnify things. Tissue from animal bodies and human,
we try to find it.
We still are so far from, of course, the nervous system. So maybe people listening, if there's some new commerce, to health and lifestyle and fasting and breath holding and breath work and all this, when you say Qigong, it's also Tai Chi. And it's also pranayama. So Qi is the life energy. It's called Qi. Qi or Qi, Japan, China, doesn't matter. In the Indian or Eastern philosophy, India, Bhutan, Tibet, in that region, it is prana. Prana means life energy, universal energy. Pranayama, yama is control or regulation. So pranayama is regulating your life energy, your life force through breath work. Of course, combined with a great immune system that both breathing, but good breathing, a good immune system also leads to good breathing because you have a clean gut system, you're more erect, you're more proud. So, well, we need to talk about different things. How I use it, I like to measure stuff, but what do I do? I think we got completely lost in this question. We do a lot of stretching to open the chest. So let's put another thing the doctor says is not true in the grave. You cannot get a bigger volume in your lungs. You cannot increase vital capacity as you can. And it's completely children obvious that if you expand the case where the lungs sit in...
Thoracic cavity, right?
Yes, thoracic cavity, you have more space, literally air space. So what we do in freediving, I could tell you a million things. We do stretches. And I don't care if it's a cat stretch or sun salutation or whatever. We bend forwards, backward, to the side, especially to the side to get flexibility in the ribs, because you breathe with the side of your ribs.
Yeah, true.
Definitely.
People don't realize it. They think they breathe with the chest, and because many people are mouth breathers,
they do breathe.
they think they breathe with the chest, and it leads to a lot of things with the mouth.
But they kind of do, when they're mouth breathers. They do the chest elevation.
Of course they do, but that's what they feel is natural, because doctors have never told them, their mother has never told them, the school teachers never told them, because we do not have a healthy educational understanding of how the body works. My brother's a doctor. He's a smart doctor. Some of my ex-girlfriends were doctors, and that's...
Do they understand you?
No, they understand me and support me and stuff, but still, my point is that it is still restricted, it is still conservative. Of course, what I hope for the future, what we're all working for, is a more holistic approach. And it doesn't mean Eastern woo-woo nonsense, acupuncture.
Just means
nonsense.
a combination,
It means a combination of holistic, of whole. The best from science. Breathology is the holistic future of health.
Yeah.
It's the best from Eastern philosophy, respecting it and also understanding it with goodwill.
Yeah.
When they say they can fly through space and time and jump like a frog and they can do all these things, it just is a way for them to describe what they felt. So when they say they jump like a frog, it probably means they're shaking, like you were shaking in your Wim Hof experience to get an old trauma out. And when you do breath holding, you go through different stages. So you learn to become flexible in your diaphragm. You open your chest, you get more flexibility in your upper region, the back shoulders, the scapula, the shoulder blades. So you have a better posture. Everything becomes more normal, more natural. You breathe better, thus you have a better immune system, thus your lymphatic system starts to rinse. That is something that nobody talks about. Lymphatic system is a liquid system that rinses your body, as important as the blood does, but we don't really know or talk about it in the modern Western world. So when you do all these things, you start to become more clear-headed. You get more in tune with yourself. You get in touch with your heart rate. You can lower your heart rate, something people often find, how do you connect? I don't even feel my heart. They don't know about the vagus nerve. So my point with the doctors is not to bash them or put them down, but modern doctors really don't know how the body works. They don't know how to hold the breath for 22 minutes. They don't know how it works. They read in a book, like we talked about before, it's very factual. 12 cranial nerves. Vagus nerve is number 10. It goes from the back of your spine to the heart and the inner organs, even to your lungs. Then you have the trigeminal nerve, and then you have this, and you have all this. But how it actually applies to real life is the missing link. And that is also why all this COVID nonsense and vaccine and all this bullshit came, because the people who are guiding or responsible for health don't understand health in a natural way. And they don't know how to tap into it. And like you said, Jacob, people always want the pill. And when I say people, I mean the general population. They're lazy. That's why they're obese or fat. They eat. So like, how do you become fat? You become fat because you eat too much. I don't care what you eat. If you, in my book, I put this formula in the first chapter, like a fun formula, the magical formula, I call it. Magical formula. How do you stay at the same weight? How to stay healthy? Well, I put in.
Yeah, it's the easiest equation in the world.
Equals 0.
Yeah, but it's
also take in the same amount of calories as you burn every day. You don't have to measure calories. You don't have to do anything. But you go on the scale. You look at yourself. You have the same weight when you were 17 as 47.
It's just math.
But at some point, it's still a step back, because food and a pill is the same thing. When you have a trauma or you have something that's nagging you, the easy thing is to eat an ice cream. That's the same as a pill. That makes you feel better.
That's not a reason why people gain weight and they can have traumas. And of course, you eat to
you got to get to the source.
But that still doesn't help. And then you get some fat loss pill. And now a Danish company, I don't have to mention them, they made an injection so you can with diabetes.
Scary shit. Yeah.
And but also they made one so you can lose weight, and that seems to be working now, and that's because they are $1 trillion company, right? So and when I was in New York, I'll tell you, I could show you on my phone, but of course I made this kind of COVID nonsense ridiculing video. I walked through one of the metros, like at Grand Station, and I filmed everything so I could prove it. I could show it on my phone. It was during my birthday celebration, right? It was from exiting the subway, it's called in New York, to, I don't even know, 500 feet. So walking for 3-4 minutes, not 30 seconds or 10 seconds to the next subway, the next train, right? The next, sub. It was like 3 minutes of walking, and only posters of this company's new weight loss injection, weight loss treatment. And I'm talking about the whole damn subway plastered. Not one about vegetables or football games or Pornhub, or I don't care what it could be, the commercial. It was only that bought this whole damn thing. Just imagine the amount of money that goes into that. But also, again, like people, I can just take this pill or this magical thing and I will lose weight.
Or subconsciously.
That doesn't help your trauma, baby.
No.
It doesn't have you eat more healthy food. On the contrary, it probably have you eat still the same shit food.
But again, the pharmaceutical industry is running the world. So that's where we are. And I cannot see any end to it.
Yes, they are.
So let's get back to the PTSD then, because that could be a way for people to naturally basically heal themselves so they don't feel like eating bad stuff, or maybe they have more discipline to go and follow the things that they really want. So when you work with the PTSD, the people that had PTSD, what kind of methods do you like teach them?
Well, I'm not better than anyone, anyone who's obese, or I'm not a better person.
No.
I just have a different mindset. But I also fall in the cracks, right? I fall through the cracks. I eat salty stuff or fat stuff or chocolate if I'm a bit like you break up with a girlfriend, or I then usually use weight because I lose appetite. But other people have the opposite. So it's a natural response. So I don't look down on people. I'm just saying you need to take responsibility for your own life and not let the medical industry or pharmaceutical or doctors run your life and ruin your life.
For sure.
So with PTSD, and so that's post-traumatic stress disorder now. In the Pentagon and the US, they don't want to call it as a disorder because it's kind of putting people down and makes
everyone has it.
But it's all this word nonsense, porn, binary nonsense, sexual. Even when I drove here, I heard
that's the same thing?
National radio, the Danish national radio. Yeah, and the forewoman, the front woman. No, it's called the foreman in Denmark. The forewoman of this and that had said this, and now I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But then 10 seconds after came another one from some festival. She said, I'm the foreman. Which is the name,
exactly,
the leader of this group, and it was just an interview with the person, but it's just everybody's so confused. So back to this, now it's just called post-traumatic stress, PTS.
Wait 1 second,
not
though.
PTSD.
1 second, though. So you think that, because I've been thinking about the same thing, the non-binary things and stuff like that's one of the things when I came back to Denmark after so long abroad, I'm like, something has happened.
Yes, what the hell has happened?
I'm not judging it to be either good or bad, but when I see it, I kind of see it as something that has to do with social media, but that's just me because I feel like that's really been integrated. What do you think, like PTSD?
I think, well, just to take this binary nonsense and all this sexual 72 sexes and all, just because it's too long to go into, and it's not really important, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
My point is that it's just in Denmark. And so I think social media just exposes it more. And you can share and be a keyboard warrior, ninja. I do this and I'm binary, I'm gay, but I also fluid gender identity. I feel like a guinea pig, but I also want to hug trees, and you have to respect that. So you have to call me a tree guinea pig binary, not fluid gender, because if not, you disrespect me.
Okay.
No, I don't. I call you a human or you or a girl because you have cis, or a boy because you have a penis. That's like, you're born that way. I don't even want to say God, it's just nature. There are two genders, that's it. Stop the discourse, stop the nonsense. But what is happening is in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and America, people are bored and stupid and not educated. You don't see this nonsense stuff in countries where they need to survive, and they need to work hard every day to walk 4 hours to get water in Somalia, to bring up their 12 kids. They're not running around, 3 of them being girls and boys and one hugging a tree. Nothing wrong with tree hugging, but like you want to be like a fluid gender. I don't even know.
Watching 2 hours of porn.
Yeah, but all this nonsense, it's because we're lazy and stupid, and we don't have goals in life. We don't have things that are important to us. We don't have things that we dedicate our time to, like a world record, writing a book, raising a family. I don't care what your life project is, but you have to be dedicated.
Self-discipline.
It's your life. So it's just because people are losing focus on what to do, and there are so many options. And also with all these star dancing on the floor and ice and all this stars for a night and singing in idols. everybody is told they're a princess and they're a goddess and they're brilliant and they're amazing just as they are. No, they're okay as they are, but they're not the best in the world for anything. They're not the best singers. They're not the best ice skaters. They're not the best dancers. But now when you tell people, almost like this PTSD, you know, oh, you cannot say disorder. What the hell would you call it? It doesn't matter. We're not trying to put a label on it to make people feel sick. It's just something we call it. Yeah. So people take the word and make it bad, but it was never a bad intention when you say something. No. The people who, in my opinion, I don't want to talk more about this topic because it's so difficult. I agree. But the people who are in all this nonsense, binary, respect this, respect that, ridiculous bullshit, nonsense, stupidity, are the ones who are actually feeling disrespected and taking all these words and putting them into all kinds of weird meanings. It was never meant like that. And it was never meant to force people in a box. Now they're doing the opposite. If you don't respect them and call them all these nonsense things, you're disrespecting them. But there was this, what's his name? This English, he's always on the news. He's kind of a harsh guy, but I just...
Piers Morgan?
Yes. So Piers Morgan, he of course insisted, and another guy I saw as well, that he was a black metrosexual, whatever. You cannot do that. You're ridiculing us. No, I truly feel like a black binary, fluid, gender, sexual, something. And that other person freaked out. You cannot say that, and you cannot have me tell you that because you. No, I feel like this, and I want you to respect that and actually call me a black binary, whatever guinea pig thing he said, right? But I think he was spot on. You know, so because let's not waste people's time on this nonsense.
Fuck that.
Let's get to PTSD. That's
I also agree.
PTSD is much more important. The COVID is important. The binary nonsense
let's hear PTSD. The work with that.
People can do what they want as long as you don't have what they want.
I also think that it's wrong for us to give it attention, you know?
Yeah, because that's also why I'm saying this.
Because we're just putting
what you're certainly doing is you are fucking up children's brains,
and that's the worst.
Oh, you're 8 years old now. You have to get the rights to get
that's fucking
like trans operation because if not, we don't respect your values. A child who's confused by, like you said, pornography,
and confused about everything.
And they don't have a father figure in their life, or a mother, or whatever. I mean, they have a great mother and father. It doesn't matter.
And they drive them into the problematic.
They should breathe.
That's why I'm a bit upset and aggressive against all this nonsense bullshit, because it actually is harmful to other people.
It is.
Not to us that are normal boys, straights.
But kids, people. You know, developing kids that are so confused.
They are confused.
And you let a 12-year-old girl decide whether she wants to be a fucking boy or a girl.
And now they have to educate about all these.
But breathing could be breathing if you want to get away from that.
Yeah.
But I think breathing could be, because again, if we go back to yoga or if you go back to Eastern philosophy, being in the now doesn't make you anxious about the future, and it takes away the depressive thinking about the past, and you're only right now, and then you see it doesn't fucking matter what my name is, all of these things. Once you really hit that feeling, which you do through the breath, right? And so maybe the method and even though PTSD and that are two completely separate things, it still somehow is related to the breath, and the fact that we're breathing wrong could be.
I think it's connected to a possible, if not cure, then at least it can help alleviate, lessen the effects of a trauma in life. So let's just call it trauma. Not that I, care about the terms, but let's just call it trauma because it is what it is. Yeah. Something happened, you saw your best friend drown in your eyes or get shot or hit by a car, or you had a terrible thing with your parents fighting, or you had someone you loved or dear one had cancer, or you got shot, or something happened, right? So a trauma can be many, many things. I just deal mostly with veterans because I work with war veterans, because I work with the military a lot to train them for peak performance and to aim better and shoot better and fight better and rescue more people and win against the enemy. Back to the TED Talk that people can find, Breath Holding is the New Black from 2019. I spent half of my TED talking about PTSD in our own research and what we see. And what we see is, for example, that PTSD, like the effect of the trauma, comes many years after, in most cases.
3 to 5 plus, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even 7, 9 years. So it's not always instant. So you have quite large portion that is instant. Then you have like a silent group for 2-3 years, and then it comes. Like the Vietnam veterans and stuff that came home and they functioned for some years, and then
they become alcoholics.
Now they're completely just walking around America asking for money.
But how is that? Why does it happen? Why does it accumulate that?
I think it takes time, and depending on your personality and whatever happens in life, it takes time to accumulate and reach you and catch up with you.
Could it be? Oh, yeah.
So I think with breathing, what we have is a wonderful doorway to come back to yourself, to come back to connecting to your source, to connecting with your heart and your feelings and your emotions, and no pill or therapy in the sense of psychology or even therapy like electroshock on the brain. Like if you really have worst case scenario, right? You have to kill some things in the brain for depressive people or suicidal people. All of that is just kind of not addressing the root cause. So with breath work and breath holding and letting go of your fears of dying, holding your breath for a long time, not that you want to die, but respecting that you're actually, or acknowledging that you're giving your life in the hands of the one who's observing you, and you completely forget time, place, you get into this state called flow. I'm sure you have made 5 podcasts about it. We don't have to talk much about it. But flow is a beautiful state we all can and all do experience in life. But with breath work, and especially breath holding and mind training, we can teach ourselves to easier enter the state of flow. And it was a professor called Csikszentmihalyi, he died last year. I was a friend of his. I was lucky to interview him, meet him. He's the father. He coined the term flow. It was called autotelic experience. Nobody knew what the hell it meant, like a self-discovery from Greek. But then he called it flow. It became an instant overnight success. Kind of like what I'm trying to do with my Guinness World Records, build a story that people instantly understand. They don't know you train in Eastern philosophy and pulse watches, but you hold your breath for 22 minutes. Again, the proof is in the pudding. You see the masterpiece, right? So he created and studied, he studied especially athletes and musicians, so artists, and saw that they reached this peak of flow where they didn't eat for days, or they didn't sleep, or they were just completely. So the key factor is lack of a sense of time. There are many other things, 17 other things, but lack of time. So with PTSD training, and I don't know if you can put a link, or they can find it on mythology.com under the courses. We have free. It's not to sell anything. It's just we have developed this incredible free PTSD course. We actually charged money in the beginning, but we were like, no, we got to have this as our charity as well. The reason we wanted to charge money was like $7 or $79 a night, nothing. It's because if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. Yeah, that could be. Greatest learning in online marketing. If you don't pay, you don't pay attention. It's a free course. It's a free book. I don't want to. I paid $30 for this. But I better get something back for the buck. So we had a money price on it in the beginning, a small one to make people more motivated. But then we're like, okay, let's just give it to the world, and we did that. Just like I did in COVID. You probably don't know, but I made all this nonsense with COVID. I actually spent $20,000-$30,000, I think $40,000 one month, every month in spring for commercials, for Facebook ads. With the speed of lightning, we created because it's in the trauma region still. We are all traumatized from COVID, whether we like it or not, somehow or not. Our rights were taken away, were violated, not moving outside of our houses.
We were scared.
What food, and they were not telling us, also the WHO, they also consult with and train, so I'm not bashing them too much, but I think they do a very poor job in helping people in the World Health Organization. But I have
the mic closer.
I have trained them and helped them, but they didn't talk about healthy food. They didn't talk about immune system or staying healthy with a strong immune system. They didn't talk about breath work or breath holding or breath work in general. They didn't talk about diet and what food and fruits and greens that are really good for you. No. And they didn't talk about just controlling the mind and not freaking out for being at home, but staying active, using the mind, being playful, learning a new skill. None of that. So I created natural things to stay healthy, the best you can do. Even also to stay strong in the sense that you have the best chance of not getting COVID if we should even get into it. The more healthy you are, the less you get attacked by virus and bacteria, or at least the less prone you are to become sick from an attack, right? Why nose breathing is also better than mouth breathing, because you don't inhale all the shit in your lungs.
Filter it, right?
You filter it in your nose and you blow it out. Yeah. So all these basic things, plus you have nitrogen oxide in your nose, so you have more lung expansion, better blood absorption, and all this was what everyone, especially with COVID, had needed, but nobody talked about it. So I made a whole program with the speed of lightning in 1 week. I filmed it in Spain in my contained house there at the swimming pool. We got it out in Danish because most older people in Denmark don't speak English. So I made it in Danish and English. And we gave the book for free. And I called Gyldendal, or we contacted Gyldendal. My team contacted Gyldendal, and they were very kind. And they gave us the rights, and we still have them for the ebook because they also had the ebook. They had all the Danish rights. But I said, but we need to give this free to the world now. I've created this breathology platform. My whole life mission is to help people be more healthy and happy. Now's the time. Freaking time. We're like under attack here by whatever. So they were like, yep, you're right. So I got the rights. So we created it. And every month I spend $20,000, $30,000. It's just people, it's not bragging. It's just to give people a perspective of the commitment, or if you really believe in something. And we ran Facebook ads, because when you run ads with a free offer or free gift, they got the ebook. And then because it was older people, again, back to the online psychology and the funnels and how you build the steps, I understand that very well because I've been taught by the greatest leaders in America in this field. Then I was like, okay, we cannot have them opt in here and do this and all this stuff. No, they got the ebook, a PDF that anyone can open, the simplest format. And then once they had that and we had the email that opened the book, we know it was whitelisted in their email because we have more and more goes into the spam folder and junk mail. So once they had that, we would send them an email after, and they would get full access directly with the touch of a button, because I have smart people in my team. So no nonsense, not your email again and a password. No. Direct access, because we have a smart system that recognizes your email and opens the gate. So they came into a COVID better breathing in COVID times program, videos about how to stay mentally healthy and sharp. How to do little simple movements. You would call them stupid movements, little gymnastics every day. And of course, some breathing exercises to keep your healthy lung system going. So that's what we did in March already, and April, when COVID was just 1 day old.
Did it catch on?
We reached almost 500,000. I got it out. My mission was, of course, 1 million. First, it was 100,000 milestone. We reached that. Then it was 250,000. We reached that. And then I was like, when we were getting up to 500,000, I want to reach 1 million. But then it kind of died out again in the summer, COVID, and the urge to help people. And summer came and COVID died. Also, temperatures changed and stuff like that. And then after August, it all went crazy again. We actually had one batch of instructors, the breathology instructor education we have, in late August, September in Italy. But that was the last physical meeting we had. So now it's online since last year.
Okay. Can I ask you about some specific things that you do with the PTSD things? Because I'm not 100% sure. I've read your book and I'm still reading it. But can you, what exactly do you think is happening with your Western also way of explaining it, like the method and stuff? Like, what is happening or what does it open?
It's very simple. We have made an incredible program, and I'm just upset and sad that the military and the politicians and the hospitals are not sharing it. COVID nonsense shit, vaccines they could share like a wildfire, but this, no. But Mats, of course, can do a good job, and people can find this free PTSD liberation, we call it. I didn't want to call it cure or salvation, but I thought liberation also, since I work with military, liberating a state, liberating your mind, was a great way of calling it, instead of making it too bold a promise. So it's liberating something, freeing something, like you experienced with your shaking there in the Wim Hof, right? From some trauma. So what it does is it teaches you about how breath work can become your best friend. You are in charge of the situation not of charge of you. That is number one. Because what people and I especially talk about veterans now, they experience is that they lack social skills. They don't want to socialize. They shut themselves at home. Then they start drinking, taking drugs, hard drugs, die from suicide. 22 veterans a day kill themselves in the US. That is a number that is unfathomable. 22. That's why you have all these challenges with push-ups and this and that. So that is just in the US alone. So many people take their own lives, and these are fathers of families that fought for our freedom. That is why I'm so dedicated to helping, especially this group, right? And I work with the SEAL Team 6. I work with the SEAL teams in the US, England, with the Special Forces in France, with all these top leaders. And they tell me, when you get a connection with them and trust is the most important anything in life. When you have trust, they tell you the deeper things they wouldn't tell you. And so I think we need to get back to the basics of just understanding what is the root cause of your PTSD. You blocked something in your body, your diaphragm got blocked, your emotions got blocked, your even your physical way of moving got blocked. You freaked out. Shock is like a shell. Shock, you're like, what's happening? And you're holding on for dear life, literally, on your throat, on your neck, on your chest, to not be attacked or to be vulnerable. So,
which is also what happened to me.
Yeah.
I was
the shock response.
We need to release that, and there is no better way than breath work, and especially the slow exhale. And now we can get into the East and Western philosophy. So the slow exhale, the pranayama, the controlled exhale, what does it do in the modern Western data world? It lowers your heart rate. That's a great thing. In that sense, you will lower adrenaline, because when the heart is pumping less, you don't need the adrenaline, you don't produce it. You're more going into what we call rest and digest, or the parasympathetic part of your nervous system. We have this autonomous nervous system. It means it's self-running, and it has kind of two doorways, a red one and a green one. The red one is the fight and flight, also called fight, freeze and flight, because you can freeze sometimes, and that runs on adrenaline and cortisol. It's like, what the hell can I do? It's a great survival mechanism. It helps you not getting shot or killed or hit by a bus if it approaches you. But if you live in this system for more than minutes or days, you will die from a heart attack, or from stress, or from mental breakdown in the long run, which is happening to large percentages of the world, which is why they feel stressed. It's a trauma in some sense, but they didn't deal with it. Then you can choose the other door, and it's a free choice, but people don't realize this. They're not taught in school or anywhere, not even at the medical faculty. You can also choose the green door. And when you walk through the green door, you come to the part of this self-running nervous system, the autonomous nervous system. So the sympathetic is the stress one. But you can enter the green door, the parasympathetic, and that is mainly run by the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. We have 12 in all. They're like wires from your brain in a car that go down to every part of your body to tell it to open blood vessels, or make the heart speed up, or make your muscles contract because you're jumping or escaping or whatever you're doing. But when you go into rest and digest, into the parasympathetic, you realize this peacefulness. And when you slowly exhale a few times without ever having done yoga or breath work, even in this sauna, this beautiful sauna of mats we're sitting in here, you feel this quietness. Even in the trees, in the vibration, in the air. So the relaxed state and this control of your breathing and connection with your heart rate. I talk about self-love and connecting with your heart. We have an exercise called Speak with Your Heart, or Connect with Your Heart.
What is that?
It's just about slow exhaling and then focusing on your heart.
Can you show us?
So it's like a chi or a key, a practice where you feel the energy and you actually feel the heart. So in the beginning, you can just put your hand on the heart, and it's a little bit down and into the center, because you have the big blood vessel running back here. And then you feel it. You can also feel it here, of course. That's pretty easy. Some people feel it in the temples, but here it's easy. And then you just exhale slowly, in with the nose, of course. Sit up straight and relax. Put a little smile on your face. Maybe that's my best trick ever in any world record championship, to smile and be kind of the psychopath. No matter what's happening, you're just happy and positive, because nobody has the effect on changing your mind. And then you exhale slowly. It can be through the mouth or nose, doesn't matter. The nose is more easy to control, and that's fine. It's kind of like a sigh. That's why we have the sigh in the first place. It's a natural way to tell your body how to relax
Slow down
before you go to sleep. Natural response. Wonderful response. And then you do it again. And this is where the variables come in and give a great aid, because you look at your pulse watch and you see you go from 68 pulse beats per minute, heart rate, to 42, and you're like, wow.
Like in 10 seconds or something.
Yes, and this is what I do with the military. So I went flying with the great guys in the Danish Royal Air Force. It took me first in the training planes and spin around and loops and all this. You have to take a lot of G before you are allowed to enter the F-16. The Fighting Falcon is a fighter aircraft. So we did the first training, and up there, this guy was so curious. Of course, you become friends with all these guys, and they're great guys, all of them, self-controlled. They do the best they can to, become superhumans. So I had the pulse oximeter. I told you before, I worked a lot with medical companies. So I worked for many years for the development of the best medico tech companies called Massimo in California. And I became friends with the owner, and we had dinners with Bill Clinton. And I got into all this system that is also the pharmaceutical and money and all this big lobbyism. Yeah. But nonetheless, great guy. Joe Chiani, the founder, the owner, the CEO of this Massimo, but they built pulse oximetry that can measure even though there's low flow of blood, and also if you have shaking. Those are the biggest problem of accurate measurements. So he fixed that. Very smart engineer. His whole family from Iran, so they're very much into math and engineering. Long story short, I worked a lot in this and guided and consulted with these companies. I also told them to build heart rate variability, and from the beginning in 2012, but they haven't. I don't know if they've built it yet, but I said, put that heart rate variability in. That's the heart's blueprint. It's much more important than the pulse.
Exactly.
And doctors know about the pulse, but they don't know the heart rate variability, which is the actual fingerprint of the heart. How is it doing? The pulse is just, you can regulate it with different drugs. Anyways, so when you see, if you're a lawyer or a banker or a engineer, you need to see numbers. And when you see on your Garmin watch or your Apple Watch or whatever, all this pulse oximeter thing on your finger, this little thing that sits on your fingertip, you see the heart rate going from 68 to 42, you believer. And I did it with this guy on the plane. He said, can I try your pulse oximeter? I was just testing different breathing techniques at 13,000 feet. And then I gave it to him and he was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything. And that was in 30 seconds. So both
That's self-evident, right?
He went from 86 or 89 saturation oxygen levels to 95. And you can imagine this guy was in the training plane, but later we went to the F-16. Now they get these new F-35, the new fighter planes. I was at Luke Air Force Base, like I mentioned, making the inauguration speech for the new fighter pilots. Great honor of mine to be there. And then a few days after, I had a speech for the whole base. This is one of the largest bases. It was the base who educated, it was called Luke Field in the Second World War. They educated most pilots in the shortest time. Like during the World War, they needed to educate a lot, right? Get them ready on the wings, literally. But when they see this, they believe it. And then even the military start to adopt, we should have more breath work. We should have this training. But imagine what this do when they fly night flights, night missions, when they fly in their head, when they're dehydrated, when they need to focus the most, when they're dropping they're at this or that. They don't want to hit a school. They want to hit a military facility. That split decision-making is what has become my trademark. It was I lecture on the most. This is what I do every now and then when I do these high-end clients. I did lecture for 20 years in libraries and schools. I'm like I told you, Mads, I will do one for the Sports Association the 2nd of September in Denmark, in Copenhagen, when I also have my own event in the night. But that is more charity. It's not you don't get paid anything for that. Yeah. So when these peak performance guys see, or when lawyers or bankers, I'm just saying people that work a lot in numbers and money and data, when they see it on their own heart rate dropping 30% or oxygen saturation increasing 12%, just changing the breath 3 times, the rate of breathing and the pattern of breathing, they're like, oh my gosh, why has nobody ever told me this?
Yeah, again, that's self-evident. You don't need any much more than that. Just 30 seconds of inhalation and a long exhalation. Yeah. That's it. That's basically it.
You don't need to do yoga or splits or headstand or handstand, any of that. You need to start from the slow exhale.
But you need to be open-minded to, at least, that's the thing. You need to somehow be open-minded and start your own research.
You shouldn't ridicule it. Like 10, 15 years ago, I was fighting a battle when I was writing the book and trying to get to doctors and help. And, because it was not, and I also developed the first program for post-polio patients ever in Denmark. Post-polio is something you get as a child. You get polio and then you can't walk. You have a crutch or something, but then you get it again in old life. That's why it's called post-polio in adult life. So post means after, comes again. So, and then you can't get rid of it. It's horrible. And it only goes down the hill from there. So what I was teaching them was have breath work, have water work. So stretching the lungs, getting the best out of what you got. Get the best out of it, man. Your lungs, your breathing ability, your flexibility, because they get impaired in the movements and they get, hunched back and all get more and more crippled. And sometimes they end up in a wheelchair. But then again, it's more important than ever to use the diaphragm to move your inner organs, your guts, your inner organs, so they are strong and healthy. Like we do in yoga with the solar salutation or sun salutation, we're squeezing the spleen, squeezing the kidney, squeezing the organs so they get replenished with fresh blood. We're breathing with the nose. We're loading up with the nitrogen oxide. And in this way, we stay healthy and have a clear skin. We have a radiant, appearance. Yeah. So also for business and for many things, of course, this is what I'm starting to help people with now, to be more charismatic, to sell more, to, be more believed, but from a natural way of being.
Yeah. But when you do these or break these records, like swim under the ice or hold your breath for 22 minutes, what is the last inhalation? What does that look like? It must be special, right? Because you need to get as much oxygen in as possible.
Yes and no. It's all yes and no. It's always a fine balance about going back to the relaxed state, which is so under. If we should say one highlight of this whole 2-hour talk, relaxation. The key
so you
to
need to be relaxed before.
Yeah, the key to relaxation is in the exhalation. It's a sentence I made up long ago. The key to relaxation is in the exhalation. And that is the key, and that is the gateway. And if you start there, you can't go wrong. Then you can explore and go to Rishikesh and India and China and Matt's podcast and all these great things, but that's the beginning.
So
we
slow
need
down
to learn how to relax, and this world cannot relax because we're disconnected from nature. We're not running around. You're much younger than I am. You too, especially you, maybe, I don't know. But we had a much simpler lifestyle. We ran out. Our parents didn't know where we were. We didn't have air tags. We were not tracked. We were not called every 10 minutes. And the kids didn't call their parents every 5 minutes. Mom, I miss you. No. We were playing in the forest. We were making bow and arrows. We were fishing. We scraped our knees. We fell down from the trees. We just lived with nature, right? It was not like in the wild, like we didn't have education or school, but and we had clothing on and clothes on and clothes on and stayed warm. It was not like a horrible world in Siberia, but we didn't have all these options. We didn't have all these inputs from Instagram and magazines and films and TV. It was just like one movie a year. Oh, we saw that James Bond was like the biggest film, right? Or we read a book at that time. My point is, with relaxation, everything becomes easier. And when I do these records, my main focus is relaxation. And when I tell this to all these engineers and all these high-end performers, whether it's business or athletes, they almost don't believe me, also the military, until they understand me and trust me. They think I'm joking when I say they need to learn to relax. That's the most important, because they have this guardian armor. They have this protective layer, this steel chest, I'm strong, I'm bold, especially men. And it's hard for them to let go of things because they don't want to be vulnerable, because then they feel they can be exposed.
But how it just rewinds to the situation.
To the breathing.
Yeah. What about that's something called lung packing, right?
Yeah. Yes. I'll show you how to do it. But what I wanted to say was that you have this fine balance, this double-edged sword between relaxation and performance or optimizing. So if you fill your lungs too much, you're almost exploding and you cannot relax physically.
Yeah.
Your shoulder blades are shut. Your abdominal muscles, especially your diaphragm, cannot move up and down flexibly when you're getting the contractions. Because in freediving, it's all about contractions. Forget about holding your breath for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. That's easy. I don't have any contractions. The breath hold starts when you have contractions. Just like whoever said it, how many push-ups can you do? I don't stop when I'm tired. I'm stop when I'm done.
Yeah.
The last push-up, it's the hardest. It's not the first 49. It's the 50th. Everybody can do 20 push-ups. So to answer Matt's question, because it is a special technique, I do lung packing, air packing. People should not do this. I describe it in great detail. We have beautiful illustrations I had made in the book, but you should not do it without supervision, or at least you should not do it alone, because you can fall down and faint. You can have like a reverse, like the blood is not coming from your lungs to your heart, and then you faint. It's absolutely fine if you're on the grass or lying down, but if you're walking stairs or doing all this crazy stuff we do with the military and freediving elite, with staircase breath holding and the weightlifting breath holding and all this, you can really hurt yourself, or knock your teeth out would be bad enough, or break your nose, right? Yeah. Would ruin your summer holiday with your family. But what I do is I trained for many years to become flexible, at my peak, maybe you read it in the book, I was 14.01 liters, so about double of my size and my weight, right? So 14 liters, and I lung pack. And then when you've done a lot and you become flexible and you can take the pain, so to say, you can be relaxed in that stressful, open, chest, then you still have enough oxygen and you're on. So it's a fine line. How much do you need to pack? And if you overpack, you black out. It's called a packing blackout in our world. Mm-hmm. So it's always a fine line, because you can also pack so much that no blood is going through a carotid artery. So the big vessels running from your heart to your brain, fueling your brain with oxygen and
so it's
glycose.
Dangerous.
Well, it's not dangerous. It's just if you black out, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line. It's dangerous if you're alone and in water, because if you drown in water and nobody fishes you out, you will die. That's the point. It's not even dangerous drowning.
No.
If you drown for 1 or 2 minutes, you're not going to die. No. Your body can live 5-10 minutes after, happily, your brain, everything. But if you don't get fished out, then you will die for sure. This is the problem when, especially young males and training for the military, they train alone. They go to the pool. I can do a long dive, and then you go into flow. And you are stubborn, and you are persistent, and you are dedicated. But you're so dedicated, you don't listen to all these. I call them the little bell ringing. Mm-hmm. So when you have this thing, I got to go up now. No, I can push further. Of course, that's the diaphragm and CO2 rising. I need to breathe, and you keep going, and then everything. That's what's called a blackout. Yeah, everything becomes black or purple, and you just have this tunnel vision. And like I tell people, it's like shutting down your MacBook. You pull the plug. Yeah, you don't see it coming. You can feel the signals when you know them, but if you're a beginner, you don't. So it's not people's fault that they drown or, they just push themselves, especially men. Again, back to the non-binary nonsense. I'm not talking about men and women here. Some women can push themselves incredibly. I work with the best athletes in the world, but it's a very male, macho thing. Also to breathe like this. If you tell a guy how to breathe properly, he will do like this instead of a woman would be more gentle and feminine, like a flower in general. But people are so confused, maybe they don't even know what I'm talking about.
We cannot speak in general anymore.
No, but almost not. But I hope some people out there have, a sane brain to understand what I'm saying. So what I do lung packing. It looks like this. I relax, I do my slow exhale. Just 1 minute is enough to focus and get ready for my dive. I open my hands, so I'm open with the energies. I don't close them. I sit open. It opens the shoulders a little bit instead of closing your chest. You're opening the heart. You're doing everything possible. You sit up straight. I'm sitting on the ice now in Speedos, for example. I totally don't care about the cameras, Discovery Channel, doping control. Everything disappears. You go into the flow state. The breathing guides you. It helps you. Breathe in, few seconds, pause. Very important to remember there's a pause after an inhale and exhale. You need to make it a circular movement with 4 steps. So inhaling and then slowly going into the exhale. Then you land the plane, as I used to say. You land softly in the valley. And then after 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever is natural to you, maybe 1-2 seconds in the beginning, you inhale slowly and softly with the nose. Deeply into a diaphragm. So some people can even put a hand on their belly if they're not used to it. You should only use your belly. And then I do this for a few times. And after 3 or 4 of these, I do some more deep breathing. And then I do the lung packing. So it looks like this. I get a bit of CO2 out, but mainly the old air and old CO2. So again, you don't want to push too much, and I don't want to blow people's ear out as well. I've done TV and radio for many years. Sorry about that, folks. And you also don't want to raise your heart rate too much, because then adrenaline kicks in, and then your body thinks you're in fight and flight, and then you don't relax. So it's all counterproductive. So it's a very fine line, and it's your body. But I love freediving because you measure the length or the depth, and that's so simple. And everything is an accumulation of all this in the result, the number you get, whether it's a number in seconds or meters. I blow out again, and I feel I'm in the right space. I have the right amount of air. Your acid base value in your blood system is correct. Your balance, the pH balance is correct. You feel this is the time, this is right, you're ready, and of course you're dedicated to go. You cannot keep stopping yourself. So it's very cold. You get almost a shock in your brain and your heart when you go under the ice, because I'm bald. And according to Guinness World Records, you're not allowed to wear a swim cap. So it means a big difference, like a lot of hair like you guys. I don't have a full head of hair, so it's an even bigger exposure. But it also turns on the vagus nerve and the diaphragm reflex. And the trigeminal nerve especially, here from the forehead and your lips and your nose, which is also why you blow on children if they don't breathe when they come out. That's a simple thing that the midwives do. So anyway, I breathe in, I breathe out the last time, and I really exhale everything. Then I breathe in 3 steps. Belly, soft transition to the diaphragm. Expand the whole chest, and then I breathe into the clavicular bones. You can even access the axillary muscles here in your neck. And then I pack with my tongue, like eating air.
Jesus, what the?
I always do this, and it's dangerous to exhale this fast. I get a bit lightheaded now.
Yeah, I can understand.
The point is, you can grow your lung volume. You can have more air in there, and you can absolutely learn to have a better lung function in everyday life, meaning also when you sleep.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a natural path or natural rhythm and pattern that you also sleep and breathe deeply, and you're more rested when you wake up.
Yeah.
Also, you need less sleep, 1 to 2 hours less if you do healthy lifestyle, yoga, breathing, and can shut down the chit chatter in your mind and all this.
Yeah, that's a big.
Have a good night's rest. You can sleep for 5-6 hours. You wake up like a baby.
You see, that's the other thing, is that this method is crucial now, because you have so much information, and if you let all of it affect you, like you just say, what you do when you breathe is that you make sure that the environment does not affect you. Well, if you train that by breathing, you're also training your mind to not let everything that you read online, everything that you listen to, all of the negative comments or all of that stuff affect you the same way as you don't let the hormones or, smells and stuff like that.
You're just getting control over your nervous system.
It's a lifestyle. It's a thing that you need now in order to be sane in this world. Otherwise, you're going to be bombarded.
But it's also what they invented in yoga. Of course, having been to Rishikesh and China, and you're very experienced in this world. But that is the highest step of yoga, the pratyahara, and then samadhi. It's the highest steps are the becoming one with the prana, with the chi, with the ki, with the universe, with nature.
Yeah.
To put it in a normal language, becoming one with nature.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're no more than nature and a frog, a flower, but you will also, tap into the power of nature. And that is where intuition and this strength, this primal strength comes. And why they use the root chakras and all this primal energy, and then you become more and more a human, you become more and more developed. Heart chakra, you have heart and love, compassion, like the Dalai Lama is talking about a lot, right? He's spreading this message from the Buddhism of compassion and tolerance, regardless of gender, sex, religion, whatever political orientation. And then you go higher and higher, and you come to the 1,000 lotus pellet. So the 1,000 pellet lotus, the nirvana, it's also called the highest state in yoga, which is liberation.
Yeah.
Going back to the PTSD liberation, right? You're liberating yourself from any trauma, from any guilt, from any wrong speaking, like negative self-talk, like the monkey mind, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. All this that everyone, including myself, of course, have to deal with. Yeah. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And forgiveness, a big one.
Forgive yourself. Forgive everyone else.
Forgiving others.
Yeah.
Right? So they already figured it out a long time ago. And the highest steps, the most difficult steps, are the meditational steps / spiritual steps. So after pranayama, the last 4 steps are more about mind and spirituality. So that is what we need to come back to. We just need, and I've had a lot of people in India, some praising me as incredible. I've never seen anything explained in such a brilliant, simple way. And I have other people attacking me like, you're stealing from India, it's our heritage. Why are you doing it to us? We invented it in India, you cannot take from us.
Yeah.
But I'm not stealing anything. And if they read the damn book, which of course the stupid naysayers and keyboard warriors never do, they don't read the material or the topic. They're just like seeing something, a Facebook ad, for example, ran all these millions of ads, millions of views, many millions of views when I spent these $30,000, $40 per month on Facebook ads to get the message out. We had a lot from India, also because you have cheap traffic. In Afghanistan, Pakistan, you have a lot of cheap leads for ads. So we ran millions of views there also. We ran worldwide, Colombia, South, everywhere. Then you get all these keyboard warriors. Oh, why are you doing this? You're stealing. You're just a self-bloated, whatever, think you're so great and blah, 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 blah. And if they read the book, I honor my mentors. I talk about how brilliant the system is. Like, we have respect today. I put those who breathe have, live have. I put the quote of my master from India on the book. It's like, so...
Now that I've been there, though, I've been to Rishikesh, and one of the things that I would say, though, is that there are a shit ton of fake gurus as well. There's a shit ton of people that are doing exactly... I'll give you one story where I realized it. And it was this woman she was doing 108 days straight where you would do a lecture, and it was about you can only follow your own. You have an inner compass that will show you the right your self identity. The whole thing is true and it makes sense, but then we come in and she's treating everyone like it's a religion. And at the end she's saying like, what did she say? There's only the ego, and there is the one, or being selfless and everything, and you always have to follow that one. As soon as you follow the ego, you're done. And then the whole session ended up that everyone had to come up and kiss her feet, and I'm like, that's for your ego. Yeah. What's that? That's you and me. I mean, it was so obvious. I left. I couldn't even finish it because I'm like, this is so retarded. And the people that were there were helpless. You know, it was like seeing one of those religious shows in South America or
I've
US.
experienced with different people as well, and, snake oil and just taking money, basically. But I've experienced exactly the same with a Spanish girlfriend I had, and we went to a Tantra course. We wanted to learn about the energies connecting on a deeper level. And this was the same, like a guru who put himself up with a low self-esteem, but he had all these powerful tools to show women how to come and become wet and do this and that and all kind of crazy things. So he had these tools, this knowledge, and he was just a completely, little man with a small ego, but he needed to be boosted. Yeah. So it was the same. We had to listen to him, and he argued with our girlfriend because she said something wrong, and we left after 5 minutes. So it's a similar story. Mine was more probably like traumatic, but the same kind of feeling. And you think they're gurus, or they claim to be gurus, and they're there to help you to spread love through Tantra and your cosmic energy, and then it's not.
And you can't use their techniques because you don't look like them, or you weren't born in
something like
India
that.
Or Dalai.
So what I tried with Breathology, my very hardest, now I brought the English version here for a match today, but it's free online still. Everybody can download the PDF. I tried to put in, like I said, the 3 pillars: peak performance, Eastern philosophy, cutting edge, modern science. And what I try, when I said before, you jumped like a frog and, you had the shaking, I tried to put myself in the place of the sages, the people in India doing this, which is also why I travel there to learn about their culture, what I see, to connect to the past. What would their world have been like? How would they explain things when you get bitten by the snake? Of course, that means the cobra. Now, I'm a biologist. I'm specialized in herpetology, which means reptiles. I'm crazy about it. So, of course, you have the cobra, which is one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. And, of course, you say when you get bitten by poison, it means a very bad thing. A very bad thing that would likely kill you, right? In Denmark, we wouldn't say that because we don't have any poisonous snakes. Yes, we have one, but it's not going to kill you. So, but then they say if you do pranayama, if your chakras are open, if you're clean, in the sutras and in all the Vedas and all these scriptures, they say if the snake bites you, it means something wants to kill you. But you have opened all the chakras and your organs are working, it cannot kill you. What does it mean? It means that something bad, a poison, bad food, toxins, whatever, if you have trained your immune system, like you said before, Mads, if you have a strong liver, if you have a spleen and everything that can cleanse your body and your blood, even from toxins, then you can still survive and be healthy and strong. this is how they explain it. When they say you leap like a frog, it's because when you go through breath holding stages, first you start to sweat. They also describe it in the yogic scriptures, in the secret or sacred old scriptures. I've been reading a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that you don't really find, is hard to find. So you start shaking after sweating. After sweating comes shaking. And those are the stages I experienced myself because we need to go through that journey. And I did it only for egotistical reasons, to become better at breath holding. It was a self-explorational journey for me. I wanted to hold my breath longer. I wanted to do any technique. That's why I went there to learn Kechari, the tongue, and you cut the lingam, you cut the tongue to get it up in your nasal passage. And I did all kinds of weird, crazy stuff and had this guru fly in from Varanasi and all this and that. My point is they describe things and traveling in time and leaping like a frog or going where they want to because that's how they felt. And I have had those, maybe not spiritual, but awakenings where I felt I could go anywhere. There was no barrier. I could see behind me. I could feel behind me. I could see in front of me. Very, very like you open the gates or the chakras or whatever you want to call it. You also talk about this energy, the prana flowing and Sushumna, like the spiral cord, the mid passage. They talk about nadis, 72,000 nadis, little channels. Yeah. But we can call the blood vessels and nerves, and I don't know what we can call them. Again, at the level, we don't even know how fine-tuned we can be. So they tapped into all this, and when you cleanse all this, and there are no blockages, whether from PTSD, trauma, from your own ego, ambition, it's all just flowing, fluid, kind of like in the flow state. Then you're the perfect version of yourself. And you forget about the past and the future because you don't have an ego to reach your goal. You don't look at your failures in your past or people told you couldn't do it. And that is the stage I try to reach in my record. So I do the packing and I go. But this is a stage or a state, not a stage. It's a state anyone can reach. So anyone listening here can learn to get into flow and be perfect in their committed relationship, in their art painting, in their music, in their business deals, in the way of connecting with people, because the way you breathe is the way you feel. Yeah. But it's also the way that other people around you feel. Like we talked about the energy shifting here, from one breath, slow exhale, and people feel it. The heart rate changes, everything changes. So I think in breathology, what I try with these pillars is to translate, even though I'm getting bashed by some Indian people, and I try to translate what they were writing and not simplifying it, but just translate into a modern language that people understand, that you can resist chemicals in food would be the same as a snake bite, right? Yeah. Over a long time, toxins, chemicals, coloring agents, all this nonsense shit. But if you have a clean system and you breathe, at least you're doing the best you can to stay strong and healthy. And when you have that awareness, it gives you self-belief. And when you have self-belief, you don't have to listen so much. I don't listen to media. I don't own a TV set. Yeah. I don't want to be contaminated by all the negativity because most media is negative because that has a hype. Yeah. When you read magazines and, he got divorced, she died, and they lost a child, and it's never like, he invented something that can clean the atmosphere in 10 hours, or he didn't, So I just block all that out. It's not that I don't follow the news, but I don't want to get contaminated. It doesn't interest me at all.
So I have 5 more questions.
And on that,
no, we could go on.
Talk for weeks.
Yes, you gotta
meet some brothers here.
Yeah, for sure.
Interest. I hope your audience, many of them have the same.
And they do. And that's why we wanted to have you here, because you're super inspiring, and we could take 2 hours more, but we can
take that another time.
That would be.
But we also have to call out the bullshit from politicians and money greedy people, because it's harming people. I couldn't care less. Yeah. I live around the world. I have a lot of KYC, meaning know your customer bullshit from banks, because I have banks and companies in different countries. And I'm trying hard not to let that get too much to me. But we should understand that people are getting harmed by these actions and inactions by politicians and pharmaceutical companies. It's not the best way to health. I'm not against drugs, and I'm not meaning like cocaine. I'm just meaning drugs and pharmaceutical treatment, medicine. If you need it at some point. But it needs to be in the right dose and for the right reason, not just to make money.
Yeah, so we need to live a good life as well. If you need it, you need it. But when you don't need it, breathing is also just to enjoy stuff. I mean, you
And
get
to
more
be fully
positive.
aware, like you said, fully aware of the situation.
Yeah.
Breathe it in. Breathe it in.
Be positive.
But
we
we
have
must
patience.
be soldiers. We must really be forerunners on this mission of breathing and breathwork and healthy living. If people don't want breathwork, then do just gymnastics or swimming. I don't care what they do, but we need to tell people they need to get back to themselves, take responsibility for their own health and their family health, their children's health, and then be a bit critical because it is our job. It is my given mission in life, at least, to be brave enough to just cut through the bullshit and say what I feel, and not be oppressed or feel that I'm crossing some barriers or stepping on somebody's toes. And in time, as always, the truth will be revealed. So in 5-10 years, this will be a talk like, wow, why did they have all this nonsense gender stuff? Or why did they have this COVID crazy stuff? Why didn't they handle it differently?
Yeah.
But we can only see that in a future perspective or retrospective smart light. But I enjoyed it today, Jacob and Mads. I enjoyed it. Everyone out there, we always have to remember the audience. Thank you for spending 2.5 hours of your precious lives.
Thank you for coming.
Let's see if we can do a part 2 of some
That would
crazy
be lovely. I would love that.
We can see if people want to hear more. They can write in your.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. We need to do that.
Thanks for coming, Stig.
Most welcome. Pleasure being here, guys.
Yeah.
See you. Take care.